gift us with in these presentations, because this is actually a unique opportunity for us. You know, like Rhonda was pointing out, Bryan came all the way from California, Loma Linda, where he teaches as a professor, and I'm so glad that he has brought his expertise here. And I really appreciate the humility, the kindness that I sense from you, brother. And I look forward to learning. Don't you all? I look forward to what he has yet to share. Man, is everybody tired and sleepy? All right. Hey, so for those of you who remain in the lobby, just want to invite you in. We're going to have a prayer and turn things over to Bryan so we can get this program underway. All right? So at this time, if you would just take a moment and bow your head with me, just now we'll pray. Father, we want to thank you for being here today. We thank you for your holy word. We thank you for this seminar. And we pray, Lord, that through all that is taught and shared here, that we will not remain unchanged. In fact, we want to invite you to help us to change so that we are more and more entering into your likeness through an abiding fellowship with you. So I ask your blessing on all of us as we listen, and on Bryan as he shares and teaches today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, brother.
All right. Here we go. Okay. Here's my family. All right, so here's the plan. So by the end of today, hopefully we will understand what triangles are, their function, relational triangles, our roles in triangles, and also how to de-triangulate ourselves from tricky situations, to how to identify whether a triangle is stable or unstable. So I'm guessing most of this is new information. So I don't know if you'll catch all of it, but that's okay. We have these. I'm hoping people got these today with the bulletins that were handed out this morning. If not, maybe there's some more in the back. I'm not sure. But you can use this to help you follow along. If you so desire, you don't have to. Some people learn better by listening. Some people learn better by writing. So it's totally up to you. Okay. So we're talking about relational triangles. And this is a concept that we are in relationship with more than one person at a time. So we have to understand what these triangles look like. We can never totally escape relational triangles, but we can change the way we are interacting with people. And during this point in time, I'm talking as a certified family life educator, so I go around talking about families and how they function. So what I'll be talking about today, I want you to understand the concepts, but when it comes to issues of safety or suicidality or self-harming behavior, we might need to adjust this approach a little bit. So I'm not talking as a marriage and family therapist right now. I'm talking more as a family life educator. So when there's issues of safety and well-being, we might have to adjust some of these ideas moving forward. Okay, let me do a little problem solving for you. Let me help you. Let me be a good helper. And we see these two individuals, probably siblings. One looks like he has I'm going to assume like a light blue shirt, and maybe she, I'm not sure, maybe his twin sister has like a light pink shirt. And in some ways, this is cute. We see children helping each other, right? What else do you notice in the picture other than one person helping the other? What else do you notice? He's helping himself too. Okay, good. How do you know he's helping himself? His mouth is covered with stuff, whether that's dragon fruit or watermelon or something. Yeah, what else do you notice? She's accepting help. Good. And what else? She's willing to receive the help. Good. So this is a nice, beautiful, symbiotic relationship. One person wants to help. The other person is accepting that help. Good. What else do you notice? So maybe he's helping her because maybe he saw that she wasn't able to. Perhaps, right? Yeah. Maybe. I mean, whoever the caregivers are in the situation, they put utensils, eating utensils, it looks like maybe in front of both children, right? So we see a eating utensil here on the right in the yellow pot. There's another one sticking up here, then he's holding one. So she does have some, if it's a she, does have some eating utensils in front of her, right? Oh, maybe he's sharing his food with her or her food with her, whatever the case. Yeah, do you see that? You look over here, there's not as much food here. Do you see that? Whereas there's a lot of food on her plate. So he's sharing from his food area, his resources with her, yeah? Yeah, I don't like my food. I get kudos from mom and dad or caregivers if I eat my food. So I'm going to take advantage of the situation and give my food to her, and I get the praise for eating my food. Okay, good. So turning the situation to his advantage. What else do you notice? He's totally focused. Yeah, look at him. He's focused, right? Feeding his sibling. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so we want, I'm not going to project what I want on you, but I'm guessing most people want children to learn how to share and care. We want kind children so they can learn how to do that. But what happens if this sort of pattern continues every meal for a week, month, years, plural? What could potentially happen? Codependency? Who said that? What does that mean? Yeah. Potentially, she becomes dependent on him, and in some ways, him helping robs her of the opportunity to develop some fine motor skills to help her feed herself, right? And navigating a short little utensil is a nice gateway to navigating a long metal one, right? Also, these fine motor skills could help when she comes to learning how to tie her shoes, right? Or buttons or a zipper. All these things, if he continues this hypothetical scenario, always helping her with the food, she does not have the opportunity to develop fine motor skills in the situation. And if it happens here, it might happen in other situations as well, right? I expect this person to help me, and he likes to help, and I like being helped, so we're both happy, right? But if this continues in more and more situations, so codependency, what's another potential outcome? They assume particular roles in their relationship. I know what my role is. I'm the helper. I help someone else first from my own resources. I do this to help her. This is what I've learned, so this is what I do in my other relationships too, right? In our family, we learn how to relate to other people, and we use that same framework as we start to discover and make new friends in other relationships. Yes? He might come to eventually think, why am I doing all the work? I have to feed 2 people every meal, right? Myself and my sibling. But it's not just feeding, it's other things too. I'm spending all my resources and emotional energy caring for other people and maybe caring for other people first if they demand it, and I get encouragement in this direction, and so then I have to put myself last, right? And that's a good Christian thing to do, right? Put the other person first. But if we're doing this all the time and we're not taking care of ourselves, right? Well, then what's going to happen here? What is this tension between caring for other people and caring for ourselves? Apostle Paul talks about this in Galatians. We'll explore this later on, right? Bear each other's burdens, right? But yet he also talks about each one should carry their own load. So there's this tension between caring for other people and caring for ourselves. And we know that when we are empty and dry, it's really hard to pull from a place of emptiness to support other people. So we need to also take care of ourselves. So how do we navigate this? My eldest daughter, we are transitioning. I use transitioning in a long sense to her learning how to tie her shoes. Right now she has these like elastic straps on her shoe. They're not Velcro, but we weave them in instead of tying shoes because, it takes some time. And mom and dad are like, okay, if we transition to this, there could be some moments of tears as we're trying to get out the door. And I'm trying to get her to tie her shoes. We're running late, and she says, I can't do it. And I say, fine, I'll do it for you. And I give up, and I tie her shoes for her, and we start this new symbiotic relationship where she just has to protest just enough, and I'll say, fine, I'll do it. Then I tie her shoes. And she's in second grade, so she does this the rest of second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all the way through high school. And all of a sudden, I'll be at work, and I'll get a phone call, hey, Dad, I just got a gym class. Can you please come and tie my shoes? So I have to drive from Loma Linda for 25 minutes, park at the local high school, or whatever academy is, go up to the office, check in, get a visitor's badge, come right through Bryan, and then I have to walk all the way down to the gym, knock on the door, have someone go get her. She comes out, I tie her shoes, I give her a kiss, I get back in the car, drive 20. It's ridiculous, right? But so every time I give in to help someone with something that they have the ability to do, in some ways, I rob them of the opportunity to develop mastery over that skill. Now let's notice, different people have different support needs, right? So we should be aware of that and provide correct sort of scaffolding support for them to be able to do the things that they can do according to their ability. But if I never let my eldest daughter struggle, she's never going to learn mastery over that, right? So by always helping, I sometimes inadvertently might make things worse for her, right? Depending on her developmental needs. My youngest one is learning how to ride a bike. She just started to get it. But there were many hours of me running behind her with a towel trying to hold her up, right? There were times I let go and she was going and she fell down. But we know this is a normal part of the bike riding experience, right? If I always came behind her, was always holding her because I was nervous about her falling, she would never really learn how to ride the bike, right? Even if she didn't need me, emotionally she thought she would, right? There's a chance that this person on the right could feed themselves. It's just way easier to have someone else do it, right? So we have to be aware of developmental needs and support needs. But if someone's capable of doing something, we have to ask ourselves, are we really benefiting them by helping? So I'm kind of posing this question to start to challenge some of these ideas about kindness and niceness, and what's the better thing for me to do as a parent? Always jump in and save my daughter tying her shoes, or letting her cry and struggle with it? Me being a support, but having her do it. And I think this applies to other relationships as well. Because every behavior is a symptom of the system. And if the rules of the system are one sibling has to help the other, then most people abide by those rules. One person ends up taking the role of the helper. I'm just the helper in this family, helper in these relationships. So I start to go and initiate more relationships, and I always adopt the role of helper, even when I don't need the help, right? If this boy grows up learning to feed other people, then they might meet new friends, they sit down for lunch, and the first thing he does is open up his sandwich bag, take some sandwich, and shove it in his friend's face, because that's what he's used to doing, right? So this is what he's initiating. He's trying to always help. And some people may not get that food out of my face, right? Let me do it myself, right? So we might start to develop different reactions. Plus, the daughter, the sister, she might grow up expecting other people to do the work for her, right? Because that's the role that she assumed in her family. We're going to look at the story of Rebekah, Isaac, Esau, and Jacob, and we kind of touched on this a little bit last night. And we know that Rebekah had a favorite son, Jacob, and we know that there's tension between Jacob and Esau, and Isaac preferred Esau. So we have these two parents with these two preferred children, and there's tension between them. So kind of bringing you up to speed. And we're going to look at a specific story when Isaac wants to send Esau out to find some wild game to come back and cook it the way he wants it to bless him. It's the story of when Rebekah hears about this and asks her favorite son, Jacob, to dress up as if he is Esau and come and trick his legally blind father out of the blessing so that he can have the blessing of the firstborn son. So the story starts in Genesis 27. And these chapter breaks, number 27, that's added later on. So this is well after the Hebrew text was originally written that this number 27 chapter was put in. In fact, you can see in this particular English version, it's labeled Jacob's Deception. That's the title of this chapter. Maybe a better title would be Rebekah's Deception of her partner through Jacob, right? Because Rebekah is the puppet master behind the strings, behind the screen, pulling things so that she can get what she wants. So Rebekah hears that her husband wants to bless Esau, which is not her favorite son. So she calls Jacob to her in verse 6 at the bottom. Behold, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau, saying, da-da-da-da-da. Here's this plan. So why is Rebekah doing this? Well, one, she has her preferred son, right, Jacob. We know that Jacob's already tricked his brother Esau out of the birthright. So he's going to receive 2/3 of dad's inheritance, and Esau's only going to receive 1/3. And if we can just get Jacob to have the birthright and the blessing from dad, for all intents and purposes, Jacob will be the firstborn son of the family. So Rebekah can live out the rest of her life with her firstborn son, quote, Jacob, who she prefers. But there's another reason why she's doing this. Anyone know? So tell me more about that. Yeah. He may not be as interested in running the tent hold, right? He might want to go out hunting. He just likes being out in nature. What's wrong with that, right? Some people are like that. Good. What's another reason that she might be wanting to do this? Yeah. Yes. Yes, so God said it was going to happen. So in some ways, God is just greasing the wheels for me to put this in motion, right? God helped those who help themselves. So I'm helping myself, and God said this will happen, so I'm helping things come to fruition, right? Good. Those are the stories those are the examples and reasons that I hear all the time. There's another reason for this, and it starts in the previous verse. Before chapter 27, so before this artificial chapter break, I think this is the reason why this is all happening. Here we go. Chapter 26, the very end. When Esau was 40 years old, he married Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. That short little verse, 35. These daughters-in-law brought grief to Isaac and Rebekah. So there's tension with the in-laws, okay? So keep that in mind as we read the rest of the story. There's tension with the daughters-in-law, and Rebekah especially does not like them. So we go on to the rest of the story in chapter 27. This is after Jacob deceived his father. Esau comes back. Here's what's going on. And Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said to himself, in one sentence, the days of mourning for my father are near. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. Short, sweet, to the point, in one sentence, what's going to happen. Rebekah hears this, and she amplifies it. What Esau took to say in one sentence, she takes 6 sentences. Let's see how she amplifies this for Jacob to hear. Now, when the words of her elder son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she sent word and called her younger son Jacob and said to him, behold, listen to me, your brother Esau is consoling himself concerning you by planning to kill you. But she doesn't stop there. Now then, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee to Haran to my brother Laban. Stay with him a few days until your brother's fury subsides, until your brother's anger against you subsides, and he forgets what you did to him. Then I will send word and get you from there. Why should I lose you both in one day? And then in the next breath, she turns to Isaac and she says, I am tired of living because of the stepdaughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife from the daughters of Heth, like these from the daughters of the land, what good will my life be to me? And then Isaac catches that anxiety in the very next verse. So Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, saying to him, you shall not take a wife from the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Paddan-aram to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father. And from there, take yourself a wife from the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. So all of this is about Rebekah wanting to get a preferred daughter-in-law that runs the house in a similar way that she would. Because we know in our family of origin, we learn how things are done. And sometimes people from other families do things differently. So Rebekah and Isaac have grief, have tension with their daughters-in-law. And Rebekah's saying, look, not only do I want my preferred son to be the firstborn son of the family for all intents and purposes, but more importantly, I want some daughters-in-law that I can get along with. I'm going to have this whole plan, send him away to my brother Laban. Hopefully he can find a wife there, then bring him back. Then I will not only have a firstborn son, my favorite son, but also a daughter-in-law that I can handle. So even in the biblical text, there are tensions among in-laws. So if you have tension amongst your in-laws, this is biblical, right? There's an example for this. Some people don't experience tension, some people do. But this is something that's happening in this family. So we're going to track the anxiety and how it's passed around these individuals. So we have Rebecca hearing what's going on. It says, hey, Jacob, you need to do this. You need to trick your father out of the blessing. So Jacob goes, he tricks his father. His father shares the information that he got tricked with Esau. Esau says, oh, I'm going to kill my brother. Rebecca hears that. She amplifies it, talks back to Jacob. Jacob, you got to flee. You got to get out of here. Your brother's going to kill you. He's furious. You got to get out of here. Please go for it, then I'll call you back. And then she talks to Isaac, amplifies it to Isaac. And then Isaac turns again. Jacob, you got to go find a wife. You got to get out of here. So look at the anxiety passing around these four people, right? Anxiety is often passed like a hot potato from person to person to person to person. And we see that it can take on different forms. So in this situation, Rebecca could have decided to pray about it. She could have tried to apply the Matthew 18 principle with the daughters-in-law. She could have held a family meeting, a family powwow with everyone to figure out how to get along. She could have agreed to disagree, but instead, Rebecca had this plan to convince her favorite son to dress up in a goat skin to swindle the blessing from her legally blind husband and then scare Jacob out of town to obtain an approved wife from her family back in Padamaran. Was this a direct way to deal with a conflict with her daughters-in-law? No. In fact, because of this whole scheme and plan, she never got to see her favorite son ever again, right? In fact, there was tension between the siblings, but that's not new for this family. There's often tension between siblings. And this is a really good example of why Bryan does not believe there is such a thing as a two-person relationship. I don't think that a two-person relationship exists. And you don't have to agree with me right now. We got some more time for me to try and convince you. And by the end, if you still disagree with me, that's okay. But I'm just going to pitch this idea as a new framework for you to understand how relationships work. So if you do construction or landscaping, you work with triangles, we know that triangles physically have a lot of characteristics that are helpful, right? Triangles provide predictable behavior. Look at this, right? This roof is a triangle, right? To distribute the load, the weight of the roof to the side. It provides strength and stiffness, versatility. And I actually think relationships that have triangles are very, very important for families because relational triangles provide stability and structure. So I think there are really good things about relational triangles. But today I'm talking about the side that is a little challenging. Just like we want kids to learn how to be kind and share and support each other, but if you do that too much, you might develop some patterns that are actually maladaptive and unpleasant. In a similar manner, relational triangles can be very, very good. But if people abuse them, then all of a sudden, anxiety is passed around the relational triangles and people get caught up in the whirlwind of anxiety and we don't know how to de-triangulate ourselves. So here's an example of 4 different families and 4 different scenarios about how relational triangles work. On the left-hand side, we have 2 people, a dyad. There's tension between them, indicated by the jagged red line. So 2 people experience tension, can suddenly become harmonious, meaning the people on the left, they don't get along right now, but they can start to get along by the addition of a third party. So for example, the people on the left-hand side, let's say that they are arguing. They're at a bakery arguing, and then Pastor Jeff walks in, right? And all of a sudden, because he comes in, they're on their best behavior, right? Because they don't want to be seen by Pastor. They want to be seen as good, upstanding individuals. So all of a sudden, they get along just because there's a third person there. Likewise, on the right-hand side, we have 2 individuals, and all of a sudden, a baby comes into the situation, and just because the baby is there, all of a sudden, they can't focus on each other, and instead, they're focusing on the baby, which takes so much more of their time and energy. They don't have enough emotional capacity to take care of themselves. So because of this third party, that's changing the way that those 2 people are interacting. In a similar manner, I am a Seattle Seahawks fan, NFL football team, and I'm not a fan of the Rams, the LA Rams. And tomorrow they'll be playing a game. And so me and my neighbor, who's a Rams fan, when the game is on, we are not going to be good neighbors, right? Because the game is on. But as soon as the game is done, and one of us stops pouting because we lost, we will go back to being good neighbors because the game is gone. Similarly, on the right-hand side, maybe there are two people at work, maybe you and your colleague at work, and you're some strong personalities, but you have a really good manager at work to help manage these powerful personalities. And all of a sudden, this person on the right-hand side has to move, the manager at the top has to move to Oregon, and when they leave, all of a sudden, these two people at work who have this powerful personality start to get at each other's throats. There's a lot of tension. What this means is the addition of a third party, could be a person, could be a baby, could be a TV show, could be sports, could be an addiction, could be a career, could be a chronic illness, could be a dream. The addition of a third party can change what happens. Also, the removal of a third party can change what happens between two people. So what this means is regardless of whether or not two people experience tension, the addition of a third party or the removal of a third party can change what happens between those two people. If you remember back to when you were in school and you might have been acting out in the classroom, as soon as the teacher walks in, you change your behavior, right? Or if you and your sibling are having a good time in the back doing something and parents come in, all of a sudden you change your behavior. But when they leave, you go back to interacting the way you were because the addition of and removal of a third party changes the way we interact. So this is why I believe that relationships are about threes, not twos. And if I can encourage you to at least temporarily try this on for size, just try this paradigm on for size to help you recognize what might be happening in your relationships. It might not be the other person, it might be the third party that is orbiting your relationship with that other person you have difficulty getting along. So we can't blame the other person. It might be this third party, the addition of a third party, or the removal of a third party that is affecting how you're interacting with somebody else. So triangles are the basic building blocks of emotional systems. They provide stability. We can rely on other people to stabilize when we're having a difficult time. It's this three-person emotional configuration where three people help carry the load. Many hands make light work. I could not carry this piano by myself. If I got 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 more people, we can start to do it, right? Many hands make light work. But also, too many cooks spoil the broth, right? It would be helpful to have 10 people move this. It would not be helpful to have 10 people move this, correct? People 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 would just be getting in the way of person number 1 carrying this, right? So sometimes it's good to have support. Other times, too much support actually gets in the way. So sometimes there are interlocking triangles where there could be triangles. I'm in a triangle with these 2 coworkers. Then I go home and I'm in a triangle with my daughters and my wife. And then I have a triangle with my neighbor and with my friends and Westminster SDA Church. So I'm in multiple triangles right now, right? They're not all active, but if I experience stress in this triangle, I could spill it out onto this triangle. I currently am in a triangle with Southwest Airlines, right? The storm and myself, there's a triangle there, right? I'm not getting along with the storm is not getting along with Southwest Airlines, and I'm also not getting along with Southwest Airlines. So there's this triangle where nobody's getting along with anyone else, and this is called an unstable triangle. We'll talk about this later this afternoon, where nobody's getting what they want, right? I'm just wishing that we could just change some things. The storm would dissipate, right? Or Southwest Airlines would have different rules and regulations. It would change everything in a similar sort of manner. You might be experiencing a triangle with one area of your life, and it's spilling over into a second area of life. Because what usually happens, there's distress between 2 people or 2 parties. If my Seahawks lose, I'll be upset. And hopefully I won't spill that upsettedness over onto the flight attendant when I eventually get on the airplane, right? That's a chance. That's a possibility. So usually I pass on my anxiety down the line, and this new party or person will absorb or take on this anxiety that is mine, and I use them as an ally or a scapegoat. So what happens is anxiety passed from person to person becomes this multi-level modeling scheme where I'm passing anxiety from person to person to person. So I'm trying to get rid of as much anxiety as I can. And if everybody's doing this, everybody's trying to slough off their anxiety, then in family systems, church systems, friendship systems, or work systems, there's anxiety that's just being passed around and around and around because we're trying to get rid of it. And if you've ever done me wrong, just know my cousin knows, and she doesn't like you. Because if you've done something against me and I don't like it, I have so much anxiety between you and me. I'm going to find someone to share with. I'm going to go to my cousin. You know what they did to me? My cousin was like, no, they didn't. Yes, they did. And then they did this and this and this. Oh, how dare they? I know, how dare they? Well, let me tell you, like, you're good, they're bad. Yeah, I'm good, they're bad. And all of a sudden, I have someone who's on my side, and you don't even know this is happening, but there's a triangle between you, me, and my cousin. This is how this works. I offload anxiety, so now my cousin is thinking about this, and I don't really know if she needed to, but now she is. I've just shared this anxiety that you and I had with her. So triangulation is actually an anxiety management strategy. We're trying to manage our anxiety, and it relies on other people getting involved in our distress, getting involved in our business, so that they can carry some of the load. So I'm getting other people involved, so they'll carry some of my unresolved distress, so that I will ultimately feel calmer. That's the purpose of triangulation. I'm offloading some hot potatoes onto someone else, so that I will feel calmer. Triangles are an anxiety management strategy. Because anxiety is passed like hot potato, and we don't want to touch it for very long. Though there are certain people in families who are willing to take one for the team and carry other people's burdens, and we can see they are overburdened by other people's burdens. So a lot of the stress we deal with is not necessarily ours to deal with, right? We're taking other people's distress and carrying it. Other people are asking us nicely or forcing it upon us, but it's not necessarily our stress to deal with. So the issue is, to the extent to which you feel like you need to be responsible for or help repair the tension between two people, the more you will experience the stress of that relationship. So if I'm here, I'm interacting with two people, and I jump in the middle of this to try and help them resolve their issue, the more I will personally experience the distress of that relationship. So the more I get involved with people's drama, the more that I will experience this. Every spring, right around the middle of March, I try and go to some nursery to get a few plants so my daughters and I can plant some plants in a few pots. We don't have a full-on garden, but we have like 6 or 7 pots. So we're thinking like basil, maybe pepper, 3 or 4 types of tomatoes, and then whatever they want to buy for $1.50 or whatever, little tiny plant. And every time we do this, I bring them outside, try to get them involved, and I'm the one doing most of the work right now, but hopefully my 8-year-old will be able to carry some of the load a little bit this year, we'll see. As we put gloves on, we get our hands in the dirt, in the mud, and by the end, our gloves are usually muddy, which makes sense, right? Rarely is the mud glovey. Meaning, when I stick my hand in, I can expect my hand to come back dirty. Rarely am I going to have the sort of influence over people to resolve their tension because it is their tension, not mine. And when I try and offer my advice, there's a chance my advice might not land very well, or they take my advice, they try and do it, they come back and report back to Bryan, say, this backfired, now it's even worse. And now they're mad at Bryan for jumping in to help. Proverbs 26:17 says, like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears is someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Right? You don't really know what's going on in the tension between two other people. As you jump in to try and help, there's a good chance you will start to experience the distress of that relationship. So triangulation is both an emotional process and an anxiety binding process, which solidifies the anxiety in the system. If we just pass around the hot potato between the three of us over and over and over, that potato will just be stuck in the system. We'll all agree socially to, let's just keep this between us. And now we're passing the potato from person to person to person. I did not plan for the storm to come, but if the storm is going to come, and you look at this picture, maybe it's a little bit hard to see, does this snow look soft to you or hard? How do you know it's hard? What? Looks choppy. Okay, good. What else? Tire track, maybe pat it down. Yeah, this is hard. Is this the type of snow you'd want to do snow angels in? No, No, it's hard, it's compact. Good. In this situation, how is this person going to get out of their driveway? What? Have to chip away at the boulder. Good, good. Maybe put the car in reverse and just go for it. It's another way, right? Here's this situation. We have the snow plow has pushed the snow right up to the garage door. So if your tools, either your aluminum shovel, which I'm not sure how it's going to get rid of this snow, maybe you need like a pickaxe to get at this, you can't even get into your garage to get the tools needed to remove the snow. This is a story that happened on the top right in Benton Harbor, Michigan, when I was at Andrews. So a gentleman had gone into this auto parts store and did not like how he was treated. A few months later, he was called in the middle of the night because one of his part-time gigs was to put a plow on the front of his pickup truck. He was called to go to a particular address to snow plow the parking lot. And he realized when he arrived, oh, this is the auto parts store, or the manager was rude to me. So this person intentionally pushed all the snow right to the front of the door, so the patrons would have to hike over this compact snow just to get inside. Right? So do snow plows remove snow? They move it. Yeah, they don't remove it. Well, they're removing it. They're not getting rid of it, right? They're pushing it around, right? So if I was really industrious and I was out here, I'm staying at a friend's house tonight, and I get up Sunday morning, if I want to, I could see all the snow, I could take their shovel, I could shovel, let's say it's 2 inches, from my driveway over to the neighbor's driveway. Neighbor comes out 20 minutes later, oh, it snowed 2 inches, but there's 4 inches on my driveway. Better remove it. They take all that snow and move it to the next neighbor's driveway. An hour later, third neighbor comes out. It snowed 2 inches, but there's 6 inches on my driveway. Better clean my driveway. And they take all the snow and the next, all the way around. And if people in the cul-de-sac are very industrious, I could end up with 26 inches of snow on my driveway because we just keep shoveling the snow around, not actually getting rid of it. Triangles are forever, meaning if someone moves away or passes away, the anxiety they experience with other people does not suddenly disappear. It just gets redistributed amongst the rest of the remaining family members. So in this scenario, let's say there's someone who, say there's a 17-year-old female who lives in Carroll County, and she does not like how her parents are so strict with their rules because all of her other friends in high school are able to stay out till 3 in the morning, but she has to come home at 10. She doesn't like her strict parents, so she decides to gather up enough money to go get a Greyhound bus all the way over to Washington State to go live with her aunt and uncle. So she gets all the way over there, knocks on her aunt and uncle's door. Can you please come and let me stay with you? My parents are so mean and rude, and the aunt and uncle aren't going to turn her away. So yeah, we have a spare bedroom. You can stay here. So now she's in Washington. Because she lives in Washington and her parents are still in Maryland, big geographic distance, does that mean that the tension she had with her parents has disappeared? No. Especially when her parents come to visit for Valentine's Day, right? Oh boy, parents come in, all of a sudden, that activation, that tension that was latent, still present but latent, is now activated when her parents walk in the door, right? So just because people move away or pass away does not mean the anxiety they had with other people disappears. In fact, oftentimes there are changes to a family system when somebody passes away. And other people start to adopt different roles and different attitudes because that anxiety is redistributed amongst the rest of the remaining family members. So there are many narratives we tell ourselves about why we should help other people with their issues. And I'm not saying don't help, but I want us just to kind of be curious about this. So we'll say things to ourselves like, that person needs me, right? Or they need my help specifically. They came to me, Bryan Michael Cafferky, living in Southern California, a son of Marlene and Michael Cafferky. They came to me, they need my help specifically. They requested my help, and I'm their pastor, I'm their friend, I'm their cousin, I'm their uncle, I'm their grandparent, I'm their child. They need me specifically. They're my family and friends after all. And friends take care of friends. Family takes care of family. It's my job. I'm paid to do this. It's my role. It's my responsibility. I know what to do. I've been down this road before. It's not my first rodeo. I know exactly what needs to happen. I could go in and solve it in 2 minutes. Super easy, right? I'm a rescuer. I'm a helper. I'm a peacemaker. It feels good to support other people. and I know how to fix this. It's super easy, right? Or I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll jump and I'll take one for the team because no one else is doing it, and somebody's got to help them, right? Sometimes other people will tell us stories. They'll say things like, "You're so good at listening. I know I can call you anytime I want, day or night. I know you will pick up and you'll drop everything to help me. I can count on you. You're a good mediator." Or even something like, "I just want to talk about so-and-so, and I need your advice." These are all invitations and justifications for roping people outside of ourselves, into our unresolved tension, into our anxiety, because triangulation is an anxiety management strategy. We're trying to offload anxiety onto other people, right, so that we can feel calmer. And maybe you're like, "Bryan, I'm not someone who likes to get involved in other people's business," but all of a sudden you start to hear a story about someone else. Your ears might perk up like, "Ooh, this is interesting." And as soon as your ears pick up, you might start to absorb some of that anxiety that they're trying to pass on. And some people get a real kick out of this. They kind of like hearing other people's stories. So they go around hearing things and sharing things, and in doing so, they're just passing on the snow, right? They're just moving the snow around. They're just passing the anxiety around the different relationships. And the thing is, we do not need to actively participate in triangles in this manner. People might expect us to, they might want us to, but when we do this, we don't actually remove any anxiety, we just remove it. We're just moving it again, we're spreading it around, right? So the result is we are perpetuating this practice of spreading anxiety to and from those that we love. So now everybody has to put their hands on the hot potato. We're not actually dealing with the hot potato, we're just shoveling snow over and over and over. Paul talked about this in Galatians 6, 1-5. He says, "Brothers and sisters, even if a person is caught in any wrongdoing, you who are spiritual are to restore such a person to a spirit of gentleness, each one looking to yourself." So even with that first verse, there's this, we should restore, help other people, but also each one looking to themselves. So there's this tension between caring for ourselves and caring for others, so that you're not tempted as well. Bear one another's burdens and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. And Christians love to use this verse as a justification for helping other people, as if it ends there. But Paul kept on going. It's almost like he had this internal struggle writing this, right? Bear one another's burdens and thereby fulfill the law of Christ. For if everyone thinks that he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But also, each one must examine his own work, and then he will not have reason for boasting but to himself alone and not to another. For each one will bear his own load. So which one is it? Are we bearing our own load, or are we bearing each other's burdens? It's probably a little bit of both, right? But if other people are taking advantage of us, bearing their burdens when they are capable of doing it, they just don't want to. If we continue to repeat this pattern, we rob them of the opportunity to develop mastery over this. At this point in time, I want to make perfectly clear that Bryan is not saying, don't help people. That's not what Bryan is saying. And I don't apply this in situations like, for example, the other week, my wife was reorganizing stuff in the closet, and we had these big boxes on top of the closet, and there's a box on the floor. She said, "Bryan, can you please put this box at the top?" I didn't go, "I think you need to develop mastery over this. You can get your own step ladder and do it yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to rob you of the opportunity." I'm not going to do that, right? Because, one, it's ridiculous. Two, I know she can do it. Three, I'm taller than her, so I don't need a step ladder, right? And I'll do it. But if this becomes a pattern every single day, "Hey, Bryan, can you put a box back up?" Like, I'll eventually say, "Okay, Jenny, every single day you ask me to put a box up. Is that what's happening here?" Like, "Yes." "Okay, this is a pattern, isn't it?" So I start to point out the pattern. "Is there any way you can do it?" We have a conversation, and hopefully we'll arrive at some sort of situation she's actually able to do it herself, whether that means having a step stool in the room or putting the boxes other places. Otherwise, Bryan is always doing this work when she is capable of doing it herself. So there's this tension between caring for myself and helping somebody else, caring for myself, carrying another's burden. But if other people are always taking advantage of you, there's a chance you might start to grow resentful. And when you grow resentful, resentment poisons the well of that relationship. because now I'm spending more energy, or emotional capacity, time, thought, attention to this thing that I know you're capable of doing. You just don't feel like it because it's too difficult. Proverbs 26:17 again. Like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears, someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. If it's not your quarrel, you may not need to grab it by the ears. Maybe you just let them work on it. It may not necessarily need you to come and solve their problem for you. Because what happened to Rebecca after this whole scheme, she never got to see her favorite son ever again. Okay, Brian's been doing a lot of talking. Now's a chance for y'all to get in groups of like 2, 3, or 4, maximum of 5 people, and I want you to try and answer these questions. See if I explained it well enough. 1, what is a triangle? What's a relational triangle? How do they work? Like what happens in the triangle? Why are triangles, not dyads, the basic building blocks of emotional systems? What are some of the reasons that we participate willingly in these triangles? And what happens to us or the system when we continue to participate in triangles in this way, passing anxiety from person to person? So go ahead and get in small groups, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and try and answer these questions. Want another minute? Okay, feeling generous, you get another minute. All right. Let's tap into the wisdom of the room. Someone help me out. What is a triangle and how do they work? Yeah, triangles are the basic emotional building blocks of relationships. Good. How do they work? Good. Whenever there's a relationship between two individuals, two parties, there's always a third factor or multiple third factors, right, that are impacting and influencing that relationship. Excellent. Good. Someone else. Why are triangles not dyads, the basic building blocks of emotional systems? Good. A dyad is not capable of isolating themselves from other factors, other parties, right? Even the Garden of Eden, it was not just Adam and Eve, right? Right? So there's always at least one third party affecting the relationship. Good. What are some of the reasons or narrative justifications we give ourselves for why we should participate in triangles and get involved in other people's unresolved distress? What are some narratives we tell ourselves? Yeah. Because we want to share some of our anxiety. Good. What are other narratives, justifications? They need me. Good. What else? We're being helpful. Right? And it feels good to help, right? It feels good to know we help someone. Yeah. I can fix this. I know what to do. I'm an expert in this area. You've never done this. Let me handle this, right? In fact, you think about King Saul. He's been to war before, and he's head and shoulders above the rest of the Israelites. And then there's this other person across the way, Goliath, who's also head and shoulders above, right? But nobody wants to go out to fight him. So David comes up, I'll take him on. And Saul's like, well, if you're going to do that, here, take this, take my armor, right? But his armor didn't fit David. And David had enough differentiation, justification to know your solution will not work for me, right? And sometimes other people's solutions will not work for you. So even though you've done this before, you are not them, right? And your solution may not work for them. In fact, they might have solutions. If they should just calm down just a little bit, they could potentially tap into creative ideas to help themselves solve their problem, again, depending on support needs. Good. What happens to us or the system when we continue to participate in triangles in this manner? What's the kind of the end game, the end result when we continue to do this? What? We don't remove any anxiety. We do a lot of work, right? A lot of work, but we don't actually remove any anxiety. And then anxiety gets crushed and captured and compacted within the relational system. I'm guessing most of us know families, I'll get here, where they have to walk around on eggshells, right? Because there's stuff we've not allowed to touch, and now it's just part and parcel as part of this family system. Yes? Yeah, the more you feel responsible for, try and repair the relationship between two people or two parties, the more you will experience the distress of that relationship, right? There's a price to be paid every time you jump in, right? Now, sometimes we have specific responsibilities, caregiving responsibilities. We might need to jump in, right, to care, to protect. But I want you to ask yourself, man, am I doing this at the expense of someone else developing some mastery over this skill, right? When maybe they might have the capability or capacity to do it, but you have to know that as a third party to be wise about that. Good, okay. So again, relational triangles can be beneficial, and I think they're important for families, but I'm just worried about the frequent flyers, those who are abusing the relational triangles to their advantage in getting out of learning how to tie their own shoes when they might be able to do that. So I don't want to find myself resentful over the situation, doing something for somebody else that they are capable of doing. All right, let's talk about your roles in the triangles. There are 3 different roles we can play. The first one is the anxiety generator. This person brings their anxiety as their +1. They generate anxiety. They bring an issue up that needs to be attended to. The next one is the anxiety amplifier. This person amplifies the anxiety. And the third one is the anxiety dampener. This person does not catch the anxiety. They don't amplify it. They dampen the anxiety. And triangles don't always have these 3 roles represented, but these are the different roles that we play. I'm really good at role number 1 and number 2. Number 3 is more difficult for me, so we'll talk about these. So the anxiety generator brings their unresolved conflict. Hey, we have an issue. Hey, there's rats at the church. We should be paying attention. There's some rats here. Can we get some help here? Trying to bring up the issue, elevate the issue to other people's consciousness. Or like, hey, let's pretend there's let's say there's a 10-year-old boy who is in, what would that be, like 3rd, 4th grade? Let's say 4th grade. And he comes home to his parents and he says, Mom, I'm getting bullied at school. They don't like my shoes. They say my food smells funny. They're making fun of me behind my back, but I can hear it. I'm getting bullied at school. This child is bringing up the anxiety to, say, both parents to let them know what's going on, hoping something will be done, okay? And maybe mom and dad are both anxiety amplifiers. They catch someone else's anxiety and they amplify it. Let's say mom hears this and goes, it's not that big of a deal. You're in 4th grade. You got 3 more months left. Stop crying. Don't be such a baby. They're just kids. Like, sticks and stones will break your bones, but don't let words hurt you, all right? In our family, we don't get hurt. Just don't bother them, and they won't bother you. It's not that big of a deal. Just get over it. Go play with other kids. Deal with it yourself. Like, life will get much more difficult than 3rd grade, so you got to deal with it now. So just figure it out. And in doing so, she is dismissing how big of a deal it is for this 10-year-old. She's saying, your big deal is not a big deal. And in doing so, she's actually amplifying the anxiety. Because now I brought this to my mom, she's not willing to help me, now I'm really by myself. So then this son goes to dad. Dad, starts to get a tear in his eye. I'm getting bullied at school. And the dad looks at him. What? Who is bullying you? What are their names? I'm going to show up at school tomorrow with you. We're going to bring our dog with us. You're going to point out who the people are. I'm going to take pictures of all the people, all the parents dropping the kids off. In fact, I'm going to call the principal right now and the teacher. We're going to have a powwow at school on Monday morning. You, me, the principal, the teacher, and we're going to go there. And in fact, I'm going to stand outside your school to make sure that these parents, when they drop their kids, I'm going to give them a piece of my... Okay, so the parent is catching this anxiety, amplifying it, and jumping in like a bull in a china shop. Is that really going to help the situation the way the boy wants? Not necessarily. Good news is, Nana is also at home. So the boy goes to Nana and says, Nana, I'm getting bullied. Instead of catching the anxiety and dismissing it, amplifying it, or catching it and make a big deal about it, amplifying it, Nana goes, oh no, I'm so sorry. Come here, tell me more what's going on. So the boy says, like, making fun of me, said my food smells funny, or that, like, my skin color doesn't look good, or my shoes are old, or then starts to cry. And Nana goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Come here, come here. You're here with Nana. You're here. You're right here. Tell me all about it. And all of a sudden, because the boy is able to share his distress in the presence of a caregiver who's offering a safe, calm place for the boy to have his big feelings, she's actually dampening his anxiety. She's not catching it, not amplifying it, not turning around, not blaming it. She's dampening the anxiety. And these are things we often do subconsciously in our relationship. We're not even aware of it. Someone tells us something, we turn around, we tell someone else, tell someone else. This is what's happening on social media when it comes to political things. Someone hears something, they immediately turn and pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. Someone amplifies it. All of a sudden, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This is happening all the time, real quick in social media, and all of a sudden, little concerns blow up to be really big, right? Or really big concerns that only a few people need to know about. Now, everybody knows about it. Does everyone need to know about that person's business? Not necessarily, right? Right? So, if you find yourself being a good anxiety generator, okay, you can bring up issues. And sometimes it's good to do this. People need to know what's going on. Anxiety amplifier also can serve a certain role. It's helpful if I say, hey, there's rats in here, or there's a fire over here. Hey, guys, there's a fire over here. And someone says, Bryan says there's a fire. Bryan says there's a fire. Oh, someone said fire? Now we attend to that. So in some ways, amplifying can be good in certain situations, right? We need to pay attention to this. But the dampener role is often what we need to do in most of our relationships. Not catching their anxiety, not amplifying it, but being a dampener. Because what happens is, when a stressful moment is met with stress, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But when a stressful moment is met with calm, usually that distress starts to dissipate just a little bit. Okay, and then finally, our position, skip through, I don't need these slides, go to this one right here. If there are two people who are having difficulty, so Q and P are having difficulty, M is on the outside, they are the outsider. The issue is between Q and P, not M. So M is the outsider and does not need to get involved, but sometimes the insiders will try and get the outsider involved, and that outsider, when they get involved and they feel responsible for trying to repair the relationship between Q and P, they start to experience the distress of that relationship. They start to get muddy gloves because they're roped in. All of a sudden, they find themselves in everybody else's garden instead of attending to their own stuff. I love helping other people move. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is to show up on Sunday morning, all stretched out with my water bottle, because when I show up, they are so happy to see me. I get a little exercise, they point me in the right direction, I go into the closet, what do you want in the box? All the clothes. I grab all the clothes off the rack, pound it into the box, tape it up, bring it out to the garage. Where next? Over here. Great, love it. In the kitchen, just put all the plates in. Good. Plate, paper towel, plate, paper towel, plate, paper towel, all the way down. Fill it all the way up, zip it up with the tape, carry it over to the garage. Done. Where next? Wherever you want me to go. Then they feed me pizza. Like, this is a great opportunity, right? I love helping other people move. I hate moving myself. Because every little book that I own, do I need to keep this or not? Am I going to wear this shirt again? Not right now, maybe later. Maybe later. Do I need these boots? Do I need this little trinket that I got 25 years ago that I forgot I even had? Do I need all these plates? Oh boy, I have a million little tiny decisions to make. There was a time in my life, in the course of 5 years, I moved 7 times. So I just started keeping my boxes under my bed. So I'm like, I'm going to move again, right? Because I know if I throw them away, I have to go through a whole rigmarole of getting more boxes. I'm just going to keep these boxes, right? I live in California. I lived there for 10 years. That's the longest I've ever lived anywhere my entire life. I was just used to moving. So I'm concerned if I ever move again, what I'm going to have to deal with, right? Because there's so much stuff that's accumulated. Now I have to decide how I'm going to move all of that. In some ways, this is very similar to dealing with anxiety. I don't want to deal with my own anxiety. I'd rather deal with other people's anxiety because I can deal with it and then I can go home. But my own anxiety is my own. And if I slowed down enough, there's a chance I would face some things about myself that I'd rather not face. In some ways, it's just easier to help other people with their stuff than actually deal with what's actually in my own closet. And some of us like being that third outsider. What's going on? I want to go around helping. What's going on? Oh, I can help. They said they appreciated that. I feel good about myself. Let's go on to the next one. Instead of actually dealing with their own garden. So being the odd person out, being the third wheel, is actually the preferable position. Being on the outside of their business, because it's not actually your business, right? Again, if there's issues of safety and well-being or specific support needs, we might need to adjust this, all right? But if it's not your business, you may not need to get involved. In fact, when Bryan is having a difficult day and I hear my two daughters fighting in another room, I'll walk in like, hey, stop it, stop fighting, we don't fight in this house. No, stop it. So I'm catching their anxiety. I'm trying to get rid of the tension so that I will feel calmer. You stop it, now everybody's upset, right? When I'm in my best self, I come in and going, whoa, I hear some loud noises here. Sound like people are upset. What's happening? So I'm narrating, I'm sportscasting what's happening. Whoa, it sounds like you took something from her that she liked. Huh, how do you feel about that? Oh, she felt upset, but you wanted the doll anyways, but you wanted the ball. Oh, you were mad because they wouldn't play with you. Whoa, this is complicated. So I'm not jumping in, I'm just narrating, right? But as soon as I start to jump in, Daddy catches their anxiety. And because I catch it, I get muddy gloves and I want it to stop. I get so upset, especially when I'm already upset to begin with. But it's better to be the odd person out. Okay, another opportunity for us to get in small groups, try and answer these questions, then we'll take a short break. So what is the difference between the generator, amplifier, and dampener roles? What's the difference? Does a triangle always have all these three roles represented? And what is the difference between the insider and the outsider? And which position does Bryan say is generally preferable? So try and answer these questions in small groups of 2, 3, 4, or 5 people, and then we'll collectively come back, tap of the wisdom of the room. Right, help me out. What is the difference between generator, amplifier, and dampener roles? Mhm. The generator is the person who starts it. Good. The amplifier is the person who will make it worse or aggravate it. And sometimes it's helpful. Usually it's not. Good. The dampener is the person that calms the situation or calms the anxiety by first not catching the anxiety, right? And refusing to catch it. This cool, calm, collected. And just being in their presence helps to dissipate some of the tension. Great. Okay. Does the triangle always have these three roles represented? No. Usually the dampener is missing. Yeah. Okay, what is the difference between the insider and the outsider, and what does Bryan say is the preferred position, whether or not you agree with me? What? The M, the outsider. It's preferable to be in the outside position. Why? Because it's not your issue, right? Good. Now, sometimes we think, oh, it's their issue, not mine. When in reality, it might actually be your issue, and you should deal with it. Even between two other people, there's a chance you have an important stakeholder role to play in what's happening. Other times, it's not your issue, but you're ready to go. You want to jump into what's going on and try and help them, and so you're the outside position, forcing yourself into it. Other times, you're the insider, pretending like it's not your issue, when in reality, you have an important role to play in helping resolve the tension. Great. Okay. A few more slides, and then we're going to take a break. We're going to be using a term that has different words, has different definitions for the same sort of word. And so I want you to imagine this word of stability, this word of stable. What's a good example? In the English language, we have the word hot. And hot can mean different things depending on the context. If I say, ooh, he's hot, or ooh, her pants look hot, or that wire is hot, if I'm an electrician, or ooh, the soup is hot, or the salsa is hot. That word hot has slightly different meanings depending on the context, right? So words don't actually have meanings, they get meanings from the context. So the word hot has different definitions depending on the context that it's in. So I'll be using the word stable and unstable, and oftentimes the word stable has more beneficial, adaptive connotations, like, ooh, stable is good, and unstable, ooh, unstable is bad. But I want you to remove those definitions temporarily from the word stable and unstable. And stable and unstable is only talking about whether something is resistant to change or is wanting to change. So for example, this is pretty stable, right? It's resistant to change. You might say, ooh, that's a good thing because it's a nice piano, so it's good it's resistant to change. But this could also be a dumpster filled with trash in this room. It's hard to move, so just because it's resistant to change doesn't mean it's a good or bad thing. It's just resistant to change. Whereas this has three little legs down here. Is this more stable than this? Pretty easy to move this, right? In some ways, it's good that this is unstable, right? It's able to move around, right? I don't need 10 people to move it. Plus, you might say, well, Bryan, it stands up on three legs. It does. And that also has three legs, right? But this is lighter and moves differently. So some triangles are stable. They're resistant to change. They want to stay the way they are. Some triangles are unstable. They want to change. And it doesn't mean that one type of triangle is better than another. It's just the idea that stable triangles want to stay the same, and unstable triangles want to change. So if we can have this idea that stable triangles want to stay the way they are, and they're resistant to change, it takes more effort to change them. And unstable triangles are actually seeking change. I want to change. It doesn't take as much for me to change. So the answer is not supposed to be there. Imagine the answer is not there. Do the labels of stable and unstable describe the amount of dysfunction in the triangle as regard to like how bad it is or how good it is? The answer is no. Stable and unstable only talk about whether the triangle itself is resistant to change or whether it wants to change. Let's have a break and we'll come back and we'll pick up here. So you have a break for like 10, 12 minutes. Come back at 3:30. All right. Ooh, that worked. If you can hear the sound of my voice, that'll be a secret sign between you and me. We're going to start again. Again, this idea that stable and unstable does not talk about the health or dysfunction of the triangle. Stable and unstable are only referring to how difficult it is to change a triangle. So stable triangles are resistant to change, right? And unstable triangles, they actually want change. Unstable triangles want to become stable. Stable isn't necessarily better than unstable. Unstable is not necessarily better than stable. They're just different terms to describe the resistance to change. So there are two types of stable triangles. And this next section is definitely the most complex stuff that I'll be presenting. And the reason I do this is if you can gather a little bit of this, a new framework for understanding relationships, you'll say, that's why this relationship is so tricky, or that's why we got here, because of the stability and instability of triangles. So a stable triangle, if you like math, has 0 or 2 sides with tension. So 0 sides or 2 sides with tension. And these are the two examples. The one on the left, everybody gets along. The one on the right, 2 people get along, and they have a common enemy at the top. 2 unstable triangles. These triangles want to change. They want to become stable. They often seek stability. And unstable triangles either have 1 or 3, so an odd number of sides where there's tension. And these are 2 examples. There's one person in the middle trying to have a good relationship with both sides, but they have tension with one another, or nobody gets along with anyone else. So we have 2 stable triangles and 2 unstable triangles. Here's another way to show it. So if there are 3 parties that experience tension, all unstable, they might move to stability over here, then they might move up to another unstable, and then back here to the right. And we don't always want this. People go into it thinking, we want a stable triangle where everybody gets along. Not necessarily, right? If I have an addiction, me and my partner, and I have an addiction, I don't want to have a good relationship with my addiction. I don't want my partner to have a good relationship with my addiction. And for us, in fact, it'd be better for us to have tension, right? If I'm working so much that I'm away from my family and my family is missing me, also not good, right? If there's another family member that is sucking all of my time away from me so I can't be with my family, that's not actually a good thing for my family. So in some ways, it'd be better if there was tension between me and the other party. So it doesn't mean that this triangle in the bottom right is the preferable triangle. It depends who the 3 parties are in the triangle. But here's one example of a stable triangle. In Ruth chapter 4, we have Ruth, Naomi, and Boaz. And as the story plays out, this is a stable triangle. Everybody gets along with everybody else. Here's another stable triangle. In Genesis 16, Sarai and Abram are barren. They don't have children. So they have this idea, let's bring Hagar into this. And at this point in time, Genesis 16, verse 2 and 3, this is a stable triangle. We all get along with one another. This will change, though, right? When Hagar becomes pregnant, things change between her and Sarai. Okay. Exodus 2, we have Miriam, baby Moses, and Pharaoh's daughter. And we bring in the biological mother of baby Moses, Jochebed. And all of a sudden, we have some interlocking triangles. We have a triangle on the top left. We have Jochebed, Pharaoh's daughter, Miriam. That's a stable triangle. We have the top right, Jochebed, Pharaoh's daughter, baby Moses. That's a stable triangle. Bottom right, Pharaoh's daughter, baby Moses, Miriam, stable triangle. Bottom left, Jochebed, Miriam, baby Moses. And all 4 of these are stable triangles. And stable triangles resist change, right? They want to stay the same. Here's another stable triangle where me and my best friend coworker don't like the new coworker. So there's tension between us. So we chat at the water cooler about this other person. We hate this person. This is a fictional situation. But we both agreed that this person is not good. This is also a stable triangle. And stable triangles want to stay the same. Good. Yeah, they want to stay the same. They're resistant to change. Good. So this is a stable triangle. So me on my way to defend my friend with 0 knowledge of what's going on, but I'm going to take her side anyways. Because I'll get roped into their triangle. I'm going to join you. Whatever's going on, it's you and me against them. So we're creating a stable triangle. You and me against the world, right? Sometimes we'll do that, right? To justify what's going on. You and me against the world. You and me against the common enemy. I'm a Seahawks fan. I'm always against the Patriots. So I always have tension with the Patriots. And I'm always for whoever happens to be playing the Patriots. I do not like the Rams are in the playoffs. I do not like the Patriots in the playoffs. So I'm always against whoever's playing the Patriots, also the Rams. I'm just a big mess. All right, let's carry on. Okay, some people like pineapple on pizza. Some people don't like pineapple on pizza. but pineapple lovers and pineapple haters have a common enemy now. It's people who like kiwi on pizzas, right? We can all agree that kiwi on pizza is inappropriate, right? We have a common enemy. Genesis 3:15, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between Satan and Eve, between your seed and her seed. So as God set this up, he set this up as a stable triangle where we have a common enemy. And this triangle is resistant to change. It doesn't mean it can't change. Just like we could move this big piano, it's just going to take more work. In fact, let's start to notice that we're talking about the stability of the triangle as if the triangle has its own characteristics. Some triangles want to change. Some triangles are resistant to change. And in this stable triangle, which is resistant to change, there are certain parties in this triangle that want to change the triangle, right? The deceiver wants to sow doubt. Are you sure God has your best interest in mind? Why can't you have some of this fruit? Is he worried that you're going to be like him? What's going on? Trying to sow these seeds of doubt. Because the deceiver wants to change this, to put tension between God and humanity, or say, look, if you align with me, I'll give you true freedom. You can do whatever you want without any consequences, right? So the deceiver is trying to change this triangle, even though the way God set it up had some stability, resistant to change. Maybe it's me, another person, it's an addiction, or a career, a hobby, a TV show, whatever that is, this third party, if you and me agree that this other thing is bad, this is a stable triangle and resistant to change. This is my least favorite triangle to be in. It's an unstable triangle where I'm at the top trying to hold on a good relationship with both sides, but these two are fighting like cats and dogs. It is so stressful for me because I get suckered into trying to help them repair their relationship. And the more I stick my hand in to try and feel responsible for trying to repair the relationship between those two things, the more I experience the distress of that relationship. So here are some examples of unstable triangles. You and your two friends don't get along. You wish they could, but they don't. So there's tension. Here's another one. Matthew 6:37, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, you'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Let's say I worked at Dairy Queen. Is there Dairy Queens around here? Do you know what that is? Yeah, okay. Dairy Queens, I work at Dairy Queen on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I work in Dunkin' Donuts on Tuesday and Thursday, which is a sweet gig because I get dessert everywhere I go, right? But let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for some reason, Dunkin' Donuts schedules me for a Friday, and all of a sudden, I'm having difficulty latching this on. There we go. All of a sudden, I have to choose which place I'm going to work at on Friday. If I go to Dairy Queen, like I'm normally scheduled, they'll be happy with me, but Dunkin' will be upset. But if I go to Dunkin', they'll be happy with me, but Dairy Queen will be upset. In that situation, this is a lose-lose situation because I can't serve two masters, right? So I'm stuck in the middle between two sides, and they are demanding that I take a side, and as soon as I take a side, the other party's going to be upset with me, right? So maybe it's me and the other person, and I'm like, I like my friend, but this person has maybe they have a hobby that is dangerous, and I don't support. Maybe they like to ride motorcycles without a helmet. And I'm saying, you gotta wear a helmet. They don't want to. Like, they're living free, whatever. And I'm like, but I don't like you riding helmetless. Hey, you can't tell me what to do, whatever. Okay. So I say, look, it's either me or your bike. You choose. So my friend is like, this is an unstable triangle. And so unstable triangles want to change. So my friend says, how dare Bryan throw down the gauntlet like that? Okay. We'll see what happens. If you don't approve of what I'm doing, then I don't need you in my life. I'll just ride in peace. And all of a sudden, this triangle is stable, and my friend and his bike riding behavior without a helmet are against me, because I'm against the bike riding behavior, and I'm against him choosing that. So now I'm on the outs, even though I wanted him to choose me, but instead, this triangle that was unstable is now stable, and now this is resistant to change. Doesn't mean it can't change, but is now resistant to change. So I tried to look on social media, and Jeff, you don't have a huge social media footprint. Is that correct? And this was hard for me to find pictures, so what I had to do, I had to go through several different YouTube videos to take screenshots of him, and I noticed he has a very powerful pose. In fact, I used this pose once in my sermon today, because I don't normally do this. But we're going to go through and see several different sermons where pastor is using this. This is a nice, powerful, open pose, and I'm going to try and use it more often. I'm more like working in the box. I'm like more like here. He's doing this quite a bit. So here are several different pictures of him doing this. Now, there might be some people in this church that want to have drums up front when worshiping. There might be some people who don't want drums. So in this situation, there might be multiple groups of people. Some are pro-drums, some are anti-drums, and Jeff will want to maintain a connection with both sides. Is this correct? Yeah, okay. Also this, some people might emphasize team law versus team grace, different ways of seeing Scripture. And some people who are pro-team grace or pro-team law, Jeff probably wants to maintain a good relationship with both sides, right? Okay? I don't know if you have cats or dogs, but sometimes we have cat people and dog people. And whether you're a cat person, dog person, I'm sure that Jeff would want to have like a good relationship with you, regardless whether you're a cat or dog. But they're stuck in the middle, especially if we try and demand that they pick a side. I don't know what happened here during COVID, if you masked up or if you didn't mask up, but around the country, there was a lot of tension within churches about wearing masks or not wearing masks. And usually the pastors were trying to like attend to both sides, right? Here's another one, our responses to COVID, whether it was vaccines or alternative approaches, you got to pick a side, right? And then both sides would try and force the pastor to choose their side. There's this tension because the pastor is stuck in the middle because it's an unstable triangle. It's not just the people, the parties, trying to make the pastor choose. The triangle itself is unstable, and triangles that are unstable want to change. They're seeking stability, right? They're trying to change. Whether you see global warming as just people hugging trees or global warming as just God hugging us closer, there might be different points of view about what's going on with the climate here within this church, and I'm sure pastors are trying to maintain a good relationship with both sides. This carpet is not this green or this orange, so you went with another route here, but sometimes churches are split over the color of carpet. In fact, I think during Sabbath school, Harold, you were mentioning about the carpet and how that can create tension in the church. I'm like, oh yes, that's true, because we know this. Any issue, if there's two sides, if you're caught in the middle trying to maintain a relationship with both sides, but there's tension between them, that's an unstable triangle. And that's a very awkward situation to be in. Because in some ways, it would just be cleaner and neater just to choose a side, but as soon as you choose a side as a leader, it changes the dynamic, and in some ways, you might lose leadership ability for both sides because you've given up your own value to align with one side, even if it doesn't meet your values. What happens is leaders get pressure from two sides. Some people say, turn the heat up, it's cold. Other people say, turn the heat down, it's too hot, right? And your job as the leader is not to be the thermostat for other people. Your job is to be the room. Say, oh, we have some people who want it warmer, some people want it colder. We got to figure this out. Whereas like, oh, I need to go adjust everybody's thermostat. All of a sudden, the leader will be running around, sacrificing their own values, trying to attend to other people's values, because if I could take care of everyone else, then I'll be okay. Or other times we have leaders who, they have difficulty with their own internal emotional thermostat. They're trying to adjust everybody else's behavior so that they can feel calmer, right? And they're spending a lot of emotional energy doing that. Okay, Genesis 21. So this is 5 chapters after Genesis 16 when this idea was first proposed. Now there's tension between Hagar and Sarah. Why? The addition of the third party, which is the baby in utero. The baby isn't even here yet, and already that is affecting the relationship between Hagar and Sarah, right? Remember how we talked about before, the addition of or removal of a third party can change what happens between two people? It's happening here. So finally, baby comes. So this top triangle is an unstable triangle because Abraham is trying to have a good relationship with Hagar and Sarah. But Hagar and the baby have a common enemy, Sarah. So we have two triangles here. We have a stable triangle and an unstable triangle. Strap in, folks. We're about to rotate this and bring other family members into this mix. All right. We have Ishmael and Isaac, right? So presumably, Abraham's trying to have a good relationship with both of his sons, right? But then there's some messiness when it comes to the mothers and the sons. So we know that Sarah, Isaac, and Abraham, so this top right triangle, is this stable or unstable? Stable. And I think here you might have a little cheat sheet. Did I include it? Yes. If you want to look at this to kind of help you out. And stable triangles want to stay the same. Good, 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 good. Okay. Then we have this triangle on the very bottom, Hagar, Abraham, and Ishmael. Is this stable or unstable? Stable. And stable triangles want to stay the same. Good. So we have two stable triangles, one unstable triangle. Here we go. But there's more relationships here too, right? We haven't even talked about the tension between Isaac and Ishmael. Ishmael is caught Isaacing Isaac, teasing Isaac, the son of laughter, laughing at Isaac. So there's tension between Isaac and Ishmael. So when you look at Isaac, Ishmael, and Abraham, this is an unstable triangle because Abrahams have a good relationship with both sons. These sons have tension, so there's an unstable triangle. There's more to come. Sarah, Isaac, and Ishmael. So Sarah and Isaac have a common enemy, Ishmael. So the triangle between Sarah, Isaac, and Ishmael, is that stable or unstable? It's stable because they have a common enemy. Good. How about over here? Last one. Forgot about Hagar, Ishmael, and Sarah. There's another one on the left-hand side. That is also a stable triangle because Sarah is the common enemy. And what a mess. Ugh, what a mess this family is. What did you say? I didn't. That will be stable because Hagar is the mother that's not approved. I didn't put that in here because there's enough tension. So what is Sarah's sweet, simple, elegant solution? Kick him out. Sarah says, get him out of here, right? See ya. Oh, so much better, right? And the tension we had with him disappears into the universe, right? No, we still experience that tension centuries, millennia later, right? Because they were unwilling to resolve this tension, kicking them out was a short-term solution. Getting people away from you is a really good short-term coping solution, right? But anytime you take a short-term coping mechanism and spread it over a long period of time, you have more challenges. So they didn't actually deal with the tension. So for me, when I'm reading this, I'm not as concerned about the idea of, you don't have to agree with me, Hagar being this person to help out with barrenness. My concern is how the inability or unwillingness of this family to resolve the tension they were experiencing. And because of that, that's created a whole cascade of tension that's been passed down through the generations. Okay, because triangles are forever and outlive the people in them. This is finally the other unstable triangle. Nobody gets along with anyone else. So here's an example, Laban, Jacob, and Leah. Leah is not the preferred wife. Laban takes advantage of Jacob. Jacob doesn't like what's going on with either of them. So this is an unstable triangle. And triangles have, power themselves. So we need to see triangles as a potential influence over our relationship. Remember how we talked about how there's no such thing as a two-person relationship? There's always a third party. I want you to now also think of triangles as influencing some of these relationships. There's also a third party, and there's the stability or instability of the triangle. This point in time, you have to be like, boo, new ideas. I'm not sure if I really understand this, and I'm worried Bryan's going to keep talking. So here's a chance for us to get together in small groups, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, and try and answer these questions. What's the difference between stable versus unstable triangles? Can you draw or provide an example of a stable triangle? And can you do the same thing for an unstable triangle? So get in small groups and try and answer these questions, please. The room, what is the difference between stable versus unstable triangles? No. He said stable triangles are good and unstable triangles are bad, and that is the exact opposite thing. So I'm glad you're giving voice to that, just in case someone else wanted to proffer that as an example. So what is the difference between stable versus unstable triangles? Stable don't want to change, and stable and unstable want to change. Good. We're on board with that? Stable want to stay the same. They don't want to change. And unstable don't like where they're at. They're trying to change, right? Unstable triangles are trying to become stable. They're seeking stability. Great. And the triangles have their own power. Can someone give an example of a stable triangle or an unstable triangle? Yeah. Can someone be willing, brave enough to offer an example of a stable triangle or an example of an unstable triangle? Yeah. Okay, so maybe there's two people, and one of them has an addiction, and so one person is enabling the other person within that relationship. So all of a sudden, so is that all three of them getting along? The addiction and the two people? Is that what you're saying? Okay, and so two parties, person one, person two, and the addiction, they're all kind of getting along. That's a stable triangle, and stable triangles are resistant to change. So because of that codependency, right, all of a sudden, this is not a good situation, even though it's a stable triangle. So stable triangles are not necessarily good, right? It really depends on the cluster of the individuals in that triangle. Good. So I'm providing an example of an unstable triangle that wants to change. Yeah. A parent and two children who are not getting along. The parent is stuck in the middle, and they might be tempted to jump in to force them to get along, and sometimes Bryan does this. And whenever I do that, I stick my hand in and feel responsible for trying to get them to repair the distress, and I start to experience the distress of that relationship. It's way better for me to be on the outside and just provide sports commentary. Oh, you're both upset. Oh, it looks like you're upset about this. Oh, she's crying now. Not that I'm not caring, right? But like, ooh, she's crying because her ball was taken away. I wonder what's going on here. So being curious, oh, now you're getting really, she's stomping. Okay, now I'm stepping in because you can't hurt your sister, right? Right. So there are times I step in, but I want to navigate this to provide them an opportunity because maybe they can find a solution. So like, we got to figure something out. How are we going to deal with this? Instead of me providing the answer. Because if Bryan always provides the answer, I rob my two daughters of learning how to resolve conflict. Even though it solves the immediate solution of Bryan catching their anxiety. And in that moment, like, oh, I don't want that. I want to be quiet so I can go fix stuff. But I need to provide them the opportunity to work through this. So by me narrating, I'm providing a safer space where someone is witnessing what's happening. Oh, you're really upset because, and you're upset. Now we're both upset over different things. What's a creative solution? And they start to melt down, like, oh, this is really hard. Okay, let's take a break. Let's go to a calm down corner. Let's separate. But when Bryan is in his best parenting mode, which is not always, we'll come back. Okay, let's talk about this again, because this may not be the only time we fight over a toy, right? Provide them opportunity to learn. Good. Awesome. Yes? Uh-huh. So can we get a microphone, actually? This could be helpful. Tap into the wisdom of the room. This? This one? Yeah? Okay. Oh, we got a runner. Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because Sarah wants the girl go away, right, with
Yep.
the kid.
Wants Hagar to go away. Uh-huh.
Abraham didn't want it, but then God told him to listen to his wife.
Uh-huh.
So what is God there?
Why is God there?
I mean, why? No, the question is like, we're talking about the triangle, right?
Uh-huh.
One person did want it, the other didn't want it, but then God told him, she's right. Do what she said.
God says she's right?
I mean, like, take her away. Send
Does
her
God
away.
let us make our own choices? Yeah. And he's going to sometimes bless us, not in the way we want to, but sometimes even though we make these other decisions, he's already made promises to us, right? So Ishmael will become a great nation as well, right? But he will live in defiance of his brother and other people, right? So that's part, oh, I get goosebumps. That's part of the outcome of this. He's perpetually living in defiance of his relatives. Do you think, it's hard for me to imagine a situation where God thinks, ooh, it is better if this family has unresolved tension for thousands of years. But this family was unwilling to. In fact, remember how in the New Testament, the Pharisees are talking with Jesus, and Jesus is talking about divorce, right? And giving you divorce because of your hard-heartedness. That's not the ultimate plan, right? So sometimes God makes accommodations because he knows we are sinful, and he meets us where we are at. And he's meeting them where they are at. Is that right? Because I often make decisions that are not helpful for me or other family members as well, because we're human, right? But God meets us where we're at. So this is what he's saying. This is what's going to happen. And he end up, even though Hagar and Ishmael were sent out to the desert to die, essentially, right? And there's this moment, like the sad moment where like Hagar puts the child down and she moves like a bow shot away, like we're going to die. But she doesn't because God rescues them, right? So there's redemption even though we make choices that are not always the best for our family. Does that help a little bit? Yeah. Good. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. All right. Anyone else, or I should keep rolling? All right. We're going to look at some more examples of these stable and unstable triangles. Here's some examples up here. We're going to try and flesh this out just a little bit. Let's pretend there's spouse A who has two good friends, and on Mondays they'd like to go get cinnamon rolls. This is my dream, to go every single Monday to get cinnamon rolls with two friends. We can just hang out, play board games. This is what I want to do. But for some reason, friend A and friend B get tension because one person said something about them, or they didn't get them a birthday gift, whatever the case. Now there's tension between friend A and friend B. Is this a stable or unstable triangle? It's an unstable triangle because the spouse is trying to have a good relationship with both friends. And all of a sudden, all three of us, myself and the two friends, cannot go to cinnamon rolls on Mondays because they don't want to see each other. So I have to go to cinnamon rolls on Mondays with one friend, and then on Friday with the other friend, which is somehow good because I get two cinnamon rolls that week instead of one. But it's not really what I want. I want us to all get along, right? So I go to my partner and I say, hey, I start to offload some of this tension, right? What do I do here? How do I handle this situation? Luckily, my partner already has some well-informed decisions about what to do. My partner does like one friend and does not like the other friend. So now we have these interlocking triangles. On the top left, we have both spouses and friend A. That's a stable triangle. On the top right, spouse A, spouse B, and friend B. Is that stable or unstable on the top right? Unstable because spouse A has a good relationship with spouse B and friend B, but there's tension between spouse B and friend B. On the bottom right, we have spouse B and friend A, and they both agree that friend B is the bad person. Is that stable or unstable? That's stable. And then the bottom left, who is spouse A, that's me, having the good relationship with both friends, but these two friends are fighting. Again, that's an unstable situation. All right, let's pretend the same sort of situation. Spouse A and spouse B. And spouse A and spouse B have some tension in their relationship. So what's the best thing to do when there's tension in your relationship? You should go and talk with one of your parents about it. Is that right? Not necessarily. So spouse B goes to their parent, says, Mom, my partner's treating me poorly. How dare they treat my baby that way? Yeah, and then they did this. Oh no, they should not treat you that way. You're worth more than that. Don't let them treat you that way. And all of a sudden, we have a triangle with a common enemy, okay? So you have the bottom right. We have parent of B, and spouse A. Is this a stable or unstable triangle? Stable, because there's a common enemy there, right? And if you're not sure about stable and unstable, stable triangles have two legs or zero legs that have tension. So an even number of legs that have tension. So luckily, spouse A still has access to their parent. So they say, Dad, you know what my spouse did to me? They did what? You got to stand up for yourself. That's not fair. Yeah, you stand up. But all of a sudden, now there's tension between parent of A and spouse B. So we have two different triangles now. And luckily, these two parents are friends on Facebook. So they can chirp at one another. And now there's tension between them. And now we have this big mess, right? And all of these triangles are stable. Every single triangle you look at here has common enemies, and it's right divided down family lines. Right? And stable triangles are resistant to change. Doesn't mean they can't change, but something's got to happen to really make this change. So what happens is spouse A and spouse B go to therapy. They get some help repairing their relationship, new behavior patterns, dealing with old wounds. They're tending to each other better, et cetera, et cetera. And all of a sudden, because they repair their relationship, they change two triangles. Notice everything is stable here. All of a sudden, when we change one leg, two triangles automatically become unstable. Whatever triangles are sharing the relationship between spouse A and spouse B. And so what happens is, spouse A has conflict with parent of B. So spouse B is holding on to a good relationship with their spouse as their parent, and they're like, look, Mom, we want you to come for Thanksgiving, but you got to repair your relationship with my spouse. I don't want to deal with unresolved tension the whole 3 days you're here. And Mom says, I don't know if I can just I can't let that go. I don't know if I can forgive them. So spouse B says, I told you I wanted you to try and work on this, but you're not willing to, so now you're not invited for Thanksgiving. Now this unstable triangle becomes stable, because now parent of B is on the outs, and both spouses agree that parent of B is bad. Spouse A goes to their parent, Dad, we worked our stuff out, but if you're going to come for Christmas, you have to hash out your relationship with them as well. So luckily, parent of A says, you know what? It's your relationship anyways. I probably should not have gotten involved. So if you're good with them, I'm good with them. And all of a sudden, we repair their relationship. And again, every single triangle is now stable again. Every single triangle. The bottom left, parent of A and spouse B all get along. The top left, parent of A and spouse A have a common enemy, parent of B. The top right, parent of A and spouse B have a common enemy, parent of B. And the bottom right, spouse A, spouse B, and parent of B. So parent of B is the common enemy for everybody, and they are ripping mad. How come everybody's mad at me? How did this happen? I was just trying to be a supportive parent to help my child. How come everybody's mad? I can't even come for Thanksgiving. They go for Christmas. This is not fair. The reason this is happening is because we can't control other people. We can barely control ourselves on a good day. And parent of B got involved, try and support, and all of a sudden, decisions were made in relationships outside of their sphere of influence, and now they're on the outs. Everybody's upset with them. And what they could have done from the very beginning would have been to say, whoa, 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 whoa. This sounds like a you issue. I don't know if I can get involved. I'm always going to love you and support you, but if you have issue between you and your partner, that's for you to deal with, not for me to get roped into. But because parent of B was trying to be supportive to support their child, now everybody's mad at them, and they don't understand how they got here. So triangles, when they become unstable triangles are just seeking stability. They don't care what happens to the people in the triangles. The triangles are just seeking stability. And every behavior is a symptom of the system. So when your relationships that are pretty tricky and it feels like it's hard to navigate, it's probably because there are some triangles at play that might be flopping between stable and unstable. And then it's like, how come I'm getting along with them now, and now I'm not? And now I am, and now I'm not. It's probably because some other triangles are influencing what's happening. So I'm teaching you this not so you can go around and be a puppet master to manipulate relationships. I'm teaching you this so that if you have a really difficult situation, if you can draw out what's happening, hopefully you'll be able to go, oh, that's why this is hard. Because there's a stable triangle on this side, resistant to change. Then there's an unstable triangle, it's flopping back and forth, stable, unstable, stable, unstable. And I'm caught in the middle of this vortex. And people are spilling anxiety onto me, and I'm getting involved in their distress, and I'm an outsider. What am I doing here, right? Oh, can I do some magic? Okay. I wish I could. I wish I knew magic so I could come here and make things appear out of the hat, but instead we're going to have to do some magic on these PowerPoint slides, okay? Here we go. Watch the rats. Where did they go? In the hat, good. Watch this set of rats. Oh, good. Where'd they go? In the hat. Are the rats gone? No. It might look like they disappeared, but they're actually in the hat. We're on board with this so far? Okay, here we go. Let's do a little bit more. Rats go, they went in the hat. Here's some more situations. There's different people. Some of them have hats, some of them do not, and there are rats about. And it's hard for people to get along when there are rats, okay? I won't ask for any more hands. You can keep standing there if you want to, but you can sit down if you also, up to you. Yeah. Okay, but I appreciate you being attentive to the situation, but I promise I will check in with the audience a little bit. Okay, so let's go back here. Those rats, watch where they go. In somebody's hat. Do we see that? Okay. So now because those rats are gone, these two parties can get along. Okay? But we have to get rid of some more rats for us to actually have a good relationship. So let's see where the other rats go. Whoa. Are the rats gone? No, they're in the hats. And some people are keeping these rats in their hats so that they can start to have a better relationship with other people. Let's get rid of the rats. Let's all have harmony. Let's just get along, right? And all of a sudden, more rats disappear. We have no problems in our family. Are the rats really gone? No. People are stuffing the rats in their hats. So, where'd the rats go? Some people took them on themselves so that they could be in a relationship with other people. So what are the rules of this church system as portrayed here? Someone has to hide the rats so we can all get along. This happens in church systems, family systems, work systems, neighborhood systems, nationwide systems, right? We're supposed to hide things so that we can get along. Either someone volunteers to hide them, or other people demand that you hide them so that we can all get along in this pseudo-harmonious fashion. So what actually happened to the rats? We don't always know, because we don't always know what's inside other people's hats. We don't know if they swallowed the rats or not. It's hard to know. But these rats will eat away at a person's well-being over a long period of time. If I have this pain or upsetness or resentment towards other people, as this grows, these rats will turn into rat-sentiment if I don't bring them out, if I don't give voice to them. So all of a sudden, I'm in a pseudo-good relationship with other people, but that resentment is eating away. People choose or are forced to swallow the storm so they won't have choppy waters in their relationships, but when we swallow the storm just goes into our belly. So the storm is still there, but we are paying the price with our well-being, my own well-being. I'm sacrificing my own well-being just so we can have pseudo-harmony on the surface. And this results in fairly thin, surface-level relationships with other people. Because there's still tension, I'm just hiding that. I'm swallowing the tension so we can start to get along. So what's the result? The risk is we don't actually have real relationships with people that we care about because we can't be vulnerable, because if we were vulnerable, we'd have to talk about the rats. So we have to figure out a way to bring up these rats so we can actually have real, authentic relationships. Instead, we'll be disengaging from real, true conversations. We avoid the confrontation, because if we start talking about the confrontation, these rats might spill out. We don't want to make a mess. So I recommend starting something like this. Approaching the conversation, something like, hey, can we talk about something? Are you open to this? I have some stuff that I've been holding back, but I want to be in a better relationship with you. Can we talk a little bit? To see if they're willing to talk about the rats, right? Because if we can't do that, then the rules of the relationship are one person has to swallow the rats in order that we can get along. But if one person's doing all the swallowing, man, that's going to be really hard because there's a storm in their belly. So either there's a storm on the outside or there's a storm in their belly. The storm is still there. It's just one person is sacrificing their own well-being. I feel like I have to swallow this tension in order for us to get along, but then I can't actually be in a real relationship with you. Would you be okay with us working through these rats so we can talk about it? Because it feels unfair that I have to always subvert and suppress my needs for us to get along, just so you won't be upset with me. So I've been doing this, but I'm starting to become resentful because of this pattern. Can we talk about this? Yes?
Is there a situation where somebody might try to knock the hat off to expose the rat?
Oh, yeah. Oh, good question. So there are people like, let's get it all out here. I don't care what happens to you or me. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, right? Man, that can cause more trauma, right? Just rip, you tell me everything, we'll hash it out. I get it. People are interested in doing that. Why? Because they're anxious about the rats and what this means. They're trying to deal with it all, so they're wanting to rip the Band-Aid off because of their own anxiety. They just want to get it out of the way. Similar, the person who doesn't want to talk about the rats, they don't want to talk about it because of their own anxiety. What's going to happen? How's my partner going to respond to me? How's my friend going to deal with this? How's my family member going to listen to me or not listen to me when I actually bring out what's actually been bothering me, right? So this is a risky proposition because we do not know. We can't control other people. We can barely control ourselves on a good day. We can't control how other people are going to respond to the rats that we actually bring forth. But if you don't talk about them, somebody's going to be paying the price with their own well-being. Good. All right, so here's two people who are getting, two friends, they get along. Two friends get along. We have these two people, these two friends, they don't get along, right? There's tension between them. We have these two people who get along, but one person is harboring all the rats. So they do get along with pseudo-harmony, but it's not true, authentic safety and vulnerability. Because one person's paying the price with their own well-being, and the rats are eating them up on the inside. Okay, we're near the end. We're going to skip through this. If we had more time, we'd look at this family. Basically what's happening is a lot of tension between the family, along family lines. We can see Leah and Leah's sons have tension with Jacob, Rachel, and Joseph, right? So very similar to Sarah's idea. The sons of Leah say, what do we do with all this tension with this brother Joseph we can't get along with? Boom, kick him out, right? Let's get rid of Joseph. And if we get rid of Rachel passes away as Benjamin comes. There's still tension. We get rid of Joseph. And all of a sudden, things change in this family. If you were here last night, we talked about how Joseph seemed to be testing the rules of the family system. Because when Joseph was the preferred son, the brothers were jealous, could not get along with him, and they were having a hard time with that. So when the brothers come down to Egypt for this long famine, and they bring Benjamin the second time they come down, Joseph seats the brothers in birth order and gives Benjamin 5 times the amount of food of everybody else. So he's giving very special preferential treatment to this preferred son of Israel from his preferred wife. And Joseph wants to see how the other brothers are going to respond to this. And then he sends the brothers away with all their food, but go back to Canaan. And Joseph again sends his servant after the brothers, after this caravan. So, whoa, stop. Somebody stole the viceroy's divination cup. And we think it was you because you're either thieves or spies, so let's open your packs. And all the brothers say, you can look at all of our packs. The servant goes and looks at all the packs until it gets to Benjamin's packs. And Benjamin, sticky fingers Benjamin, has stolen the divination cup. And instead of kicking out this brother, all the brothers tear their clothes in grief and protest. You are not taking our brother with you down to Egypt. We are all going with you. So something has changed within the family system. And I don't know all the details. So I'm just saying this up front. And the narrator is not clear about all the details because that's not the focus of this story. But here's what I think is happening, and again, I don't know. Did you know that Jacob was buried with Leah, even though Leah was the non-preferred wife? Which tells me maybe something happened within that relationship after Rachel passed away. They're buried together. So, notice how all these are stable triangles, resistant to change. If Leah and Jacob repair their relationship, all of a sudden we have some unstable triangles, and unstable triangles want to change. So this tells us sometimes we want unstable triangles because unstable triangles provides an opportunity for change within families. What happens now, some of these triangles become unstable. So Leah, Jacob, and Benjamin, Leah, Jacob, and Leah's sons. And maybe, I don't know, but if the sons are willing to stick up for Benjamin, this tells me that there's a different relationship between the sons of Leah and Benjamin now, compared to before, the relationship between Leah's sons and the sons of Rachel. And maybe Leah's sons now are starting to respect Jacob a little bit more. And in fact, he trusts them to take Benjamin back down to Egypt. So maybe something has been repaired. And if that's the case, maybe the family looks a little bit more like this when Joseph is testing the family system. Because it's clear the brothers don't want to leave Benjamin by himself. They're staying with him. So families can change, and oftentimes the change comes through the gates of unstable triangles. So if you experience some tension in your relationships and it feels unstable and the triangles are unstable, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the unstable triangles are seeking stability, and there's a good chance that if you hold on to your morals and values, we can't control other people, we can barely control ourselves on a good day, but just holding on to two different sides and the unwillingness to just pick a side because both sides care about you creates some tension in that triangle, in the family, and now there's more opportunity for change. What I don't want you to be is the hero coming to the rescue and accepting the invitation to help other people with their unresolved conflict, and all of a sudden, you have no emotional capacity left over to deal with your own garden because you're always helping other people move. Your gloves are getting muddy instead of dealing with growing your own fruit, taking care of your own self. And Paul wants you to do both, right? Support other people and care for yourself. And if there's someone who is a drain on your emotional capacity, you might have to ask some hard questions about how you want to engage with them. They may not even realize this is happening, right? They may not even be here today to learn all this stuff. They just know that there's this pattern of they want someone to support, and you're supporting them. So there's this beautiful symbiotic relationship where you're supporting them, and at first you felt good about it, but now you're growing resentful because you're doing it over and over and over, and they're liking the support, and now they're dependent on you for that. So there might be an opportunity to navigate these relationships differently. So we're going to jump to the resolution. And the first thing is have a different mindset. We learned about triangles. We learned that when I get involved in other people's unresolved distress, more likely I'll experience the distress of that relationship. They're just trying to pass on the hot potatoes to me because this is what they're used to. In the past, I was willing to engage within this pattern, but these frequent flyers are taking advantage of me and the system, and I feel like I need to keep supporting them when actually they might have the capacity to do some of this themselves. In fact, I might be robbing them of the opportunity to develop mastery over something. I need to reconsider how I'm approaching this. So really tricky situations, I need to have a game plan. I'm not going to just make it up on the fly. I'm going to have a game plan. So before you say or do anything, I want you to notice something. So before you say or do something in these relationships where you feel like people are taking advantage of you being kind to support them, remember, there's a chance you are absorbing their anxiety and it's not yours. You're absorbing other people's anxiety, and it's not yours to begin with. So just kind of noticing that, right? So when you suspect that what they're sharing is not your problem, and then when you know the anxiety does not belong to you, you can make an intentional choice. And again, just to be clear, my intent is to talk about situations where it's really tricky and people are taking advantage of you, right? I'm not saying don't help other people. If you walk away thinking Bryan says don't help, then I've done a poor job communicating. I want you to support other people, but I don't want you to sacrifice your own well-being repetitively to your detriment, supporting someone in something that they could do, they just don't want to because it's too hard, or I don't know how to do it, or it's too hard to learn. Hey, we can all learn new things. So, 2 immediate questions to ask yourself. You can write these down or just lock them in your brain. This is why I'm here from California. 2 immediate questions to ask yourself. Is this my problem? And is this my anxiety, or am I catching it from them? Sit with this. Because if it's not your problem, there's a chance you are justifying your involvement, or they're trying to convince you to be involved, and you may not need to be. Now, be wise about this, right? But don't let your kindness, I want to be a kind person, always help no matter what, right? Let's be smart about this. We want to be kind. We also don't want to be taken advantage of, right? We can bear each other's burdens, but each one carrying their own load. Both, right? It needs to be both. So in some ways, you might be helping them carry by letting them carry their own load. My problem is my anxiety. So after you ask yourself these two questions, here are two things you can do. The first is to sketch out the triangle, figure out where you are. Am I on the outside or am I on the inside? Is this a stable triangle or an unstable triangle? And the last thing is key. Come up with a lesson plan. Here's what I'm going to do the next time I see this person. Because these people who require that I put my own values and interests aside to attend to them repeatedly, I'm going to keep bumping up against this individual. So I need to come up with a plan. The next time that I see this person, I can already predict what's going to happen so that I can move forward in a different way. So something that might be helpful is, let's say you have someone who comes to you and likes to offload a lot of their stress. They just want to just dump on you. They just want to vent. And you want to be supportive, but you find yourself catching their anxiety. Imagine there's a recycle bin right in front of you. And imagine your hands are up like this. You don't actually do this. Just imagine your hands are up like this. And whatever they share bounces off your hands into the recycle bin. Complaint. This is hard. Oh, that is hard. All this stuff into the recycle bin so that when you're done with the conversation, you can listen and be supportive, but it's not yours, right? It's their recycle bin. They can take this home. Otherwise, we're at risk of absorbing all their anxiety and feeling like now this is your problem too. And it may not be your problem. In fact, if people come to you on frequent flyers and they're trying to get your advice about things, I would say things like, oh yeah, that's hard. This is difficult. What are we going to do? In fact, I have some prompts to recommend to you, things you can say to people if you want to know how to handle these situations. You're setting boundaries. It doesn't mean you're a cold-hearted robot. It just means you're respectful about what's going on. So you want to move to the outside position, recognize, oh, I see what's happening here. They're on the inside. They're experiencing distress. They're seeking stability. They're trying to offload anxiety so they can feel calmer, and they're trying to find me as a participant in what's going on. But I don't have to absorb their anxiety. I don't have to amplify it. I'm going to be an anxiety dampener. I'm not going to catch their anxiety. I'm going to see where I'm at in the triangle. I see I'm an outsider. And once I see this is where things are, I have a plan. My plan will be to say these sort of things from this neutral, encouraging stance. Again, you're not abandoning them. You're letting them know clearly where the boundaries are, saying things like, you. And if you're from a culture you're not allowed to say you have to say we. You can say we, but you mean you. Okay, so this is hard. What are you going to do about it? Right? What's the next step? What do you think you need next to help you get through this? What's happening is you're being anxiety dampener. They're upset. They perceive there's a threat, and they have this natural God-given fight, flight, or freeze response. Their frontal cortex goes offline. They're just seeing the threat. They don't see solutions. They don't see context. By you being a calming presence and co-regulating with them, you're sharing your calmness with them. They can calm down a little bit. Their frontal cortex comes back online, and they start to think about first steps, and you're helping them find a solution for themselves. You're not giving it to them. Because if you keep spoon-feeding somebody who has the ability to do it themselves, the only thing they will learn is the shape of the spoon in their mouth. But if you give them an opportunity to do some of that themselves, they start to develop more skill in this area. You can say something like, this is hard, but I also know you're resilient, and I know you're resourceful. I bet you'll find a creative way to work through this. What would that look like in an ideal situation? Again, you're here, you're listening, but you're getting them to do some of the work to find solutions. Well, I know you're capable of taking course of action which will ultimately be in your best interest. What direction do you think that is? and get them to start to talk about it, right? As they start to talk about potential solutions, they start to visualize some of this, and you're providing them an opportunity to think about ways they could attend to this obstacle. If it's a couple, you can say something like, I'm sorry in this situation, but I'm also confident that you two are adults. You'll be able to come to a resolution. What do you think you need to get there? By you saying you're putting the responsibility on the other person, right? You might have to say, we'll get through this. All right, I'm here for you. I'll help you. What can we do? But in your mind, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to make sure I don't do all the work. I'm here, but they're going to do the work. And all of a sudden, if you do this enough, they're going to pick up the phone, and they're going to call you, and they're going to, wait a second. I don't need to call Bryan, because I know what he's going to say. It's hard. What am I going to do about it? In fact, I think I have an idea. They're going to go try and solve their problem. It's going to be successful. Then they're going to call you. Bryan, guess what? I thought about this, then I found a solution, and I did it. Then you can celebrate with, great. What's that like for you? Hey, you did this. Good. So you can't take responsibility for solving their problem because it's not actually your problem in the first place, right? So be smart about this. You can carry each other's burdens. Also carry your own load. Again, this is not me saying, wow, walk away from Bryan. Bryan said we can't help each other. No, we should be helping each other, right? But when one person is taking advantage of your kindness and taking advantage of the system so that they don't have to do things which they are capable of doing, then that's going to result in usually resentment. We're going to get upset about this, and all of a sudden we can't have real relationships. We have pseudo-harmony because I know what's going on and I'm upset about it. Yes? Where's that sweet microphone we had?
Just as you're talking about all this too, I feel like it's good for us to maybe remember that sometimes we've trained people to come to us over and over and over.
Yep.
Now we're learning this new behavior, and I guess I feel like maybe it's not always that somebody's trying to take advantage of the person that they may come to solve the problem for them on a regular basis. So as we're trying to maybe implement new behavior with people, I guess I just want us to all remember that they might not realize.
They may not know.
Right, because I feel like these things happen throughout this family, and this is why you're here to teach us that they become these patterns and these habits. And the
passed down through the generations. Yep.
Thank you. And the reasons why they're happening aren't even really known to most everybody, that they're going, that we're going through everything. We don't even know why.
Correct. We don't always know why. It's just happening, and we're frustrated.
It's just happening.
Yeah. So manipulating, not always on purpose, inadvertently. They don't even realize, like you said, that it's happening. This is just what they're used to, right? This is the behavior they're used to. This is what they've been trained to do. And most of us have been trained to do different things, just like you train a pet, right? This is what we're used to. We get rewarded for this, punished for this. Okay, this is a course of action in my system, my family system, that is approved. This is unapproved, so I'm going to stick to the approved, unless I want to stick it to the system. Then I'm protesting, doing something counter to the system. And in doing so, I might get negative feedback loops for the system. So yeah, all of this stuff that we are learning, try and navigate so that we don't have resentment in our relationships, so we can navigate our relationships better, so we can call to the table what's actually happening, right? And then empower other people to take care of their own problems. And if we can do this, if we can empower and support people in resolving their own problems according to their abilities, then people will develop more mastery. Then we actually have more room to actually help people in certain situations instead of being resentful about the role that we have trained them to come to us to support them with. Good. Okay. So when you resist getting pulled in the triangle, you're not reacting to that anxiety. Instead, you're responding to your own values because you're recognizing, I know how I would handle it, but I am not them. We're going to see what happens with them so many times. So I have 10 years of experience seeing clients in couples therapy, and sometimes I think I have the answer. Oh, I know what's going on. I've been there before. But if I follow this and I give them an opportunity to think about what works for them, so many times people have developed their own creative solution, and I'm thinking, I would have never done that or thought about that, but this totally works for you. And I'm amazed at people's ability to find solutions to their challenges. if we can just slow things down a little bit. A lot of people have the capacity to do more than they actually expect if you give them an opportunity to think through this and not jump in. In fact, when we jump in to rescue them, it's often because we are catching their anxiety. So once you're able to do this, you can be on the outside and you can recognize the push and the pull from other people. You don't have to abandon your own values. So in fact, you could figure out what's really at stake here. What's actually going on here? If I get roped into the situation, I'm no longer an outside observer. I'm in the mix, right? So in fact, in some ways, I'm a better support as an outsider because I can be more objective. When I caught up in the mix, man, I lose that objectivity. Okay, so real quick, have a little conversation. Answer these two questions. What can I do? What are some practical things I can do, either thinking, like questions I ask myself, or behaviors I can do, or phrases I can say? What can I do to detriangulate myself from a challenging triangle? And how could this ability to detriangulate myself help my family or my church? Try and answer these questions. 4 or 5. All right, one more minute and we're going to close it up. Again. All right, someone help me out. What is something you can do to help you de-triangulate yourself from a challenging triangle, whether it's something you're thinking or a mindset or things you're saying or doing? What kind of practical steps could you do to help you de-triangulate yourself from a tricky situation? Hand over here.
Well, like you pointed out, what are you gonna do about it? You're there, you're supportive, but you're using terms that is really putting it in their lap.
Yeah.
And maybe doing it with the understanding that, hey, I'm here to support what you choose.
Yes, yes. The word "you" is so powerful, right? So powerful. It's a subtle shift from how can I rescue you from the situation because I'm anxious to what kind of things can you already do? Yeah.
You know, I feel like, though, you're giving us, like, the permission to use you statements, which almost goes against everything that I've been taught when you're dealing with conflict or even trying to set somebody free from using you as their problem solver.
Yeah. So often many of us have heard use I statements, right? Use I statements. Couple things. One, if you're both working out conflict together, using I statements is okay. But even I statements may backfire. You could say, I think that you're dumb as a sack of bricks. That's an I statement, right? Right? But that's not a helpful I statement, right? It's still an I statement. So just because it's an I statement doesn't always mean the next parts that come out of your mouth are going to be helpful or supportive, right? In this situation, they're making their issue your issue, and if you say, I can do this or we can do this, all of a sudden, you're taking some ownership over that. When maybe, for a little bit, my child will need my support to tie her shoes. That's just part of it. And it might take her longer than I want, but that's my job as a parent, is to provide that support, right? So usually you make sure that they have some responsibility and doesn't relieve them of that responsibility. Good. Someone else. So something we can think or do to help us de-triangulate ourselves. Oh, over here, please. Thank you. This microphone's coming right there. There we go.
You could remove yourself from the situation.
Oh, you could create some space, and that space helps remind you that you are on the outside position, right? I'm on the outside position. I don't need to be involved because it's not my issue. Good. Good. What else could we do? Yes.
I just have a comment about that because you also mentioned that you're saying that when you're the outsider. Because if there's tension between you and somebody else and you try to remove yourself, the tension doesn't go away.
Correct. If you and I have tension because we're fighting over something, I'm like, I got to remove myself, right? That's a good short-term coping mechanism to get some space, but I'm still responsible for my half of this relationship, right? So for me to say, I'm on the outside, I'm lying to myself, right? I'm spinning a story for myself when I actually have a responsibility here. I can't control him. I could barely control myself on a good day, but I do have a responsibility to potentially try and make amends. But if he doesn't want that, I can't force him to do that, right? So in some ways, we can only have influence. We can only control our side of the relationship, but we do have some influence over other people. We just can't control them. So if you are an insider to the situation, you might have a responsibility to deal with that, and sometimes it's easier not to, right? So then you're abandoning your responsibility.
Don't worry, I do forgive you for all those pictures of me voting.
Thank you. Yes. And you do this pose a lot. Yeah, it's good. It's a good pose. I'm going to try and, I did it today. I'm like, ooh, this is kind of fun. I was like, oh, this is kind of nice. It stretches out my back a little bit. Instead of like, there's multiple good things about this. So appreciate that. I'm going to, yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Yes, over here. It's coming. Thank you, sir.
So if you are the person that is, still actively involved in the triangle, try to make a, definitive effort to be the dampen it.
Yes.
To dampen.
Yes.
And not, ignite, even more anxiety.
If you know that people are coming to you with their hot potatoes, go, I know what I usually do. I usually catch their hot potatoes and I pass them on, or I amplify. If that's what I normally do, okay, I see they're calling me on my phone. Oh, I'm going to calm down. This is their hot potato, not mine. So when they bring it here, I'm going to intentionally try and be calmer, right? So I'm not going to catch their anxiety. I'm not going to play into this role. And they may not like that. They might amplify it more to get you to take their anxiety. Wow, this is really hard. You're in a tough spot. Oh, we're starting to transition to you language. Oh, this is hard. Oh, man. What do you think you're going to do about it? I don't know. That's why I came to you. Yeah, good. I'm glad you came. All right. What are the first steps you think you need to take? Well, I came to you, Bryan, to help me. Good. I'm here to help. All right, let's break it down. What's the first thing you need? I don't know. I would just, and all of a sudden you start them, like reorienting them to addressing their own responsibility to slowly start to develop mastery over addressing this issue. And if for some reason this you language is not working for you, and people keep coming, you can call the question, you can name the pattern in the room. Jeremiah. Anyone named Jeremiah here? Okay, good. Jeremiah, it seems like you're always coming to chat with me about stuff. And it almost seems like you're stuck in the same sort of pattern. Do you think that's happening? Well, I don't know. Okay. But I'm seeing that from the outside. Do you think, I want to be here to support you, but I bet there's someone else who could support you better. I bet there's a professional helper that could support you, right? How do you feel about pursuing some professional help? Then all of a sudden, you don't have the responsibility of being their friend, their aunt, their cousin, their child, their parent, whatever that is, and also being their emotional support buddy through all their heavy stuff. There are other people who are trained and want to do this and want to provide care for them. In fact, I'm going to give Pastor two different people that I know of that are Adventist. One is a family therapist, the other one is a social worker here in Maryland. So if you want to seek some others through this seminar, you're looking to maybe pursue exploring different things in your background or patterns you are part of that you want to change, I can give those names and number to Pastor so that he has access to them, and maybe he already has some people in mind that he knows of, so that you can, did my voice just go out? Yeah? I don't know what's going on. It's better? Okay, great. So that you can get some of that professional support, so you don't have to lean so hard on other people. Because if you're that person who's being leaned on, there's a big emotional weight if you're trying to help people through something that's really difficult, and maybe you're not trained to do it. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that you're not trained to do that, so it might take more of an emotional lift for you. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or broken. It's just that you're not able to do that. Same with the other person who's having the hard time. They're not broken. They're not a bad person. It's just they're having a hard time and they might need some support. It's okay to refer people to support. It's all right. You're allowed to do that.
A good reference is still offering help.
Good, good. If someone comes, so when my wife comes to me with issues like Penelope had our time with math, I'm not going to go, what are you going to do about it? Because she's not frequently trying to take advantage of me, always not doing stuff herself. So when people come to me for help, I'll give them advice, right? But if they're frequently coming to me and they never seem to be doing it themselves, that's when I start to go, okay, I might need to shift it here. so that I give them an opportunity to develop mastery. In fact, usually my first response is, that's hard, okay, what have you tried, right? So again, what have they gone through? Okay, what do you think isn't working? So they start to think they're all of a sudden they're troubleshooting already without me needing to jump in to get as emotionally invested, right? So there's this balance between providing support and not letting them take all of your time and emotional capacity because they don't feel like doing it. So even referring is providing some support, it's providing a potential solution. If all their other solutions aren't working, I'm going to do that. Good. Okay. If you're able to do this more, how could this help your family or your church family? Well, can we get the microphone over here, please? Thank you.
I was just saying it would alleviate a lot of the anxiety and stress that's being spread around.
Yes, because a lot of that anxiety and stress may not be yours. Maybe other people's stuff. And you don't need to have your hands on all the hot potatoes. We don't need to shovel the same snow 10 different times, right? And all of a sudden, people start to learn, oh, this person's not willing to accept my hot potatoes. Oh, I see what's going to happen. But I've been able to provide some solution for myself. Maybe I can start to do this, and I start to see myself differently.
It could also help you to, I just lost because of the whole volume thing.
Yeah. It was powerful.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What
We can
was
go
I
back.
gonna
We can go
say?
back to you.
So, yeah, let's go back.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
I was just thinking maybe better relationships.
Maybe better relationships, right? Because then you don't have to sacrifice your own well-being to keep them afloat. And all of a sudden, you can appreciate that relationship more instead of like, oh no, them again, right? Or like, oh, this is so hard, so draining, when we don't have to take responsibility for other people's stuff when they're able to do it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that if you are able to
Detriangulate yourself,
triangulate
the big word, yep.
yourself from an unhealthy triangle,
Yep.
that now you're more available for other people.
Yes.
And your point of allowing others to find solutions for themselves and mature.
Yes. So, I don't know what pastor's role is about accepting phone calls at any hour of the night or any day of the week. So he gets to decide that, and sometimes pastors experience social pressure from church families about what the rules are about pastors' availability whenever someone has a challenge. And every pastor gets to decide for themselves, and sometimes they are encouraged either explicitly by other people in the church or board members or elders or deacons or deaconesses, whoever, about their availability. But Bryan's not the pastor here, so I'm allowed to say whatever I want, and then I leave, right? Pastors are allowed to say, you know what, I'm allowed to have some time where I'm not always on call for everybody. If it's a real emergency, then maybe I can handle it, but not everything is an emergency. It feels like it because we get anxious, I need help, what's going on? For example, when I was packing to come here, I couldn't find my wallet. I couldn't find it. So I had to go pick up my daughter, but I was anxious about the whole time. When I get home, I'm going to rip the house apart. All I had to do was just calm down, go, okay. I told my wife, I don't know where my wallet is. I don't know where my wallet is. I don't know where my wallet is. And then just calm down, like, okay, where was it? Okay, put it in my pocket. I bet it's in my car, slid down the side. Went, looked there it was. But if I was so anxious, I would just spend all my time ripping things up. Where's my wallet? But when I calm down, oftentimes I can think a little more clearly. And I knew I was going somewhere, but I forgot where I was going. Oh yeah, if you can take a deep breath before you call a pastor, maybe you can just say, ooh, this may not be an emergency. Maybe I can just wait till, well, he only works one day a week, right? Maybe I don't need to call him right now. I can call him another time. I'll call him on Tuesday. He doesn't need to know. I'm just anxious. Okay, then he doesn't have to be on call for anyone. And he's able to start saying, oh boy, I know certain people are calling me all the time. I'm able to say, this sounds hard. What are you going to do about it? Oh no, he's using that thing with me, that you thing, right? Yeah, I believe you have the capacity to deal with this. What do you think the first step? I don't know. Now you're doing this. I know, but I'm here to support you. Boop. All your stuff. Then he'll start to train you, if he wants to do this, that he's not always on call for all your stuff because he's often the outsider, right? If you have tension with other family members in the church, he might say, sounds like you two aren't getting along. This is hard. What do you think you two need? Well, we're coming to you. Okay. It sounds like a you issue. What are we going to do here? And all of a sudden, he doesn't have to be triangled into everything. If we have 20 people lining up to see pastor, there's 20 different reasons, right? And sometimes pastors feel like they have to be a good pastor to attend to everybody's needs. And sometimes he's an outsider. It's not his issue, right, folks? Right? Try to deal with some of your own stuff. And then you can come to him. And in all my interactions with Pastor Jeff and Rhonda, I've had really good interactions. I know that they care about people. In fact, when there are some visitors here today, and after church service, Pastor made sure to capture them, give them a handshake to say hello, to make sure that they knew that they were welcome. So he cares about people, right? So don't take advantage of that, please. Okay? But I'm leaving, so you can do whatever you want. But yeah, and he's allowed to put up boundaries. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox for a second. Okay. All right, we're done. One last thing I want to show you is this little comic. I finally found it after 15 years, the scroll of truth. You're catching their anxiety if you find yourself solving their problem. They don't like it. But it's true. If you're jumping in to solve their problem, it's probably because you've already caught their anxiety. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time this afternoon and this morning and last night. If you want to, here's a QR code for your smartphones if you want to give feedback about the seminar. I'll be hanging around here afterwards to have conversations if you want to have conversations. But I'd like to close with prayer, if that's all right. So bow your heads. Father God, it is hard for us to navigate relationships. We don't always know what to do. But we know that you are always there. You are the counselor. You are the comforter. You are a good God. Please help us to stick close to you, to be connected with you, and teach us to be more like you as well. Amen.
Of just being able to be here and participate. So, Rhonda, I'm just going to ask you to start us out, sweetheart, and then I'll close.
Okay. Well, Father God in heaven, we can see the anointing that you've given Bryan. And Lord, thank you for giving him a heart to share the beautiful message of helping to untangle relationships with not only us and our online audience, Lord, but everybody else that you have put him in front of in the past and you're going to in the future, Lord. I pray that you continue to help each one of us who have heard this message today take it to heart, to have a desire to understand those patterns that have been unhealthy throughout our family dynamics and ask you to come in and to remove them and replace them with your good patterns, Lord. And Jesus, there is so much more that we want to know about how to get along with people. So continue to help build us and continue to build Bryan's ministry, Jesus, and keep him safe in all of his travels, Lord. Keep him healthy, Lord. And Lord, we are asking that you bring him back to see us soon. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Oh, Father, I just want to thank you for the way that you have used your gifts in the body of Christ. I thank you for gifting Bryan with the ability to teach and to convey this important knowledge. And Lord, I also want to thank you that there is no circumstance, no problem that is so perplexing that you cannot unravel it. And I thank you that even though our lives sometimes get very messy and tangled, that you have solutions for us. You have ways of helping us, even like Bryan was preaching about this morning with, the gift of self-control. I pray, Father, that you will help us to continue to learn and grow. And I want to ask just for a very special blessing on Bryan. As he continues in his ministry, I pray that you will give him a clarity of purpose, that he will continue to remember exactly what you have called him to do, and that you will be the author of the message that he gives. And I pray for a special anointing, Father, that he will be able to share your truth with great power that will affect change and impart grace to the hearers. And so, Father, I thank you. And I know that his traveling plans have been altered, and that has been a source of tension and stress for him, or even maybe anxiety. I pray, Lord, that you will help him to have peace in his heart tonight, knowing that you are the one who is in charge of him and all that you've called him to do. And so I ask that you'll prepare the way, give him your peace, and keep him going and growing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you.
Yes, my brother.
As you were praying, I was thinking about how I have a friend in the area that I get to see once every 3 years. So I get to stay at his house for 2 nights.
That's awesome.
So I don't get going where I'm wanting to right away, but I get to hang out with him. So this might be a blessing.
Amen. Hey, I usually think this after all the seminars that we have. I feel like we have quality programs here at this church. And this is a quality seminar that Bryan just gave. I want to encourage you to encourage others to participate in the things that our church is offering. It's too good to not pack out our church. Amen? Father God, just now as we prepare to leave, we just want to thank you for reaching into our lives again. Thank you for pursuing us. Thank you for being relentless about trying to give grace and mercy and help and hope and healing to all of us. You're such a good God, and we're starting to see that more and more. I pray that you will keep us mindful of how you always have answers for our questions and solutions for our problems, and help and healing for our brokenness. Continue, Lord, to draw us close to you so that we can receive that life-giving strength and power and peace that is only found in your presence. I ask your blessing on this church, Lord. In Jesus' holy name, amen. Amen. God bless you. Thank you for coming out, everybody. And thank you, Bryan.